heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I've done it all, just want it all. Oh, what you know about me? I've seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host as usual, Jarrett Thomas, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box. I ain't gonna hold you. It feel like it's been a month since we parted. You don't feel like it's been forever since we last parted? When that was our last episode?
Bro. And not at 2 times a week, player. We here on the
last week. It was the trip messed us up.
Can I say something to you? We more consistent than the welfare check, homie. we more consistent. When you're more consistent than government assistance, you know you rocking. Motherfuckers count on us more than the 1st and the 15th. You heard?
I like it. I like where he's going with it. This boy's ready to party. That boy is good.
They see us 4 times between the 1st and the 15th. Government, you only see them 1 time.
This guy's good. This guy.
What we talking about?
Listen to this guy. You learn a thing or two.
You gotta listen to him. You can learn something.
Okay, but if you don't know who he is, you know who he is. That's my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO, Chadeo. What's good, baby?
I'm grateful. Like I told Bianca, man, I'm gonna starting all these pods off saying I'm grateful, man. Grateful to wake up another day because health is wealth. So I'm gonna start every pod off that way, man. I'm grateful to be here. I'm thankful for the supporters and everybody that has been our support system to allow us to continue to bring this platform to the people. And I'm also grateful, man, to be able to get up and do what we love to do and keep fighting another fight, man, to provide for our families, man. So there it is, man. Grateful and thankful, man.
That's it, man. We fighting a good fight. And like Cuzzo said, shout out to y'all, man, the followers, the listeners, supporters across every platform. As usual, you know, y'all, we are over 70,000 on YouTube alone this month. Hundreds of downloads across Spotify, Apple, all the streaming platforms. We appreciate the love, the reviews. Please, if you haven't, make sure y'all go click, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Because once again, we do it for y'all, man. We growing and glowing every week because of y'all, man. We appreciate the love. And also, shout out to our distribution partners, the Live Podcast Network, the first Black-owned, women-owned podcast network in the world. So we don't just talk it, y'all. We walk it. And if you want more content from Black content creators like More Than the Title, make sure y'all get your phone out, scan the QR code, and with your subscription, half of your subscription goes to your favorite content creators. Nobody's giving it up like that, y'all. Come on, shout it out. Shout out to the boss lady and the whole team.
Yeah, guess what? I work for a woman, and I like it. I'm not insecure. I work for a woman.
That's it, man. We working. You know
we working. I got my boss a big black strong woman. I like that. You know what I'm saying? Lead the way, my lady.
Message. See, look at that. He's starting with that.
Let's start the show.
To the shit. Let's give this queen.
We got to give our respect to these powerful women out here doing their thing, man. Men, stop being intimidated. That's a sign of weakness, man. Cut that shit out. Stop being intimidated. You want somebody just as strong as you to be able to hold things down because life be lifing. And if you can't, and if she can't, then y'all both crumble. The kingdom falls, man. Right? That's why it's a king and a queen. Message. Rule, right? A king and a queen. It ain't a king by itself. It ain't a queen by herself. It's a king, strong, strength, male, and a queen, equal and opposite strength from the opposite gender. Come on, let's get with this shit, man.
The boy is pardon.
I'm playing around.
The boy is pardon. We
gotta get back to royalty with this, man. Come on.
I'm with it. And with speaking of royalty, let's introduce this queen, give her the proper introduction she deserves. First of all, this queen merges innovation, social equity, and technology, revolutionizing digital possibilities. She leverages tech for inclusive solutions, and her work focuses on using emerging tech like AI, VR, AR to increase tech literacy, streamline operations, and grow strategic partnerships. Throughout her career, she had the privilege of leading over 200 workshops and contributing to projects that have garnered significant recognition, including a Pulitzer Prize-winning endeavor. Let's introduce this queen, Bianca J. Jackson, y'all. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Give a school bell right there.
Come on, baby.
Give it an introduction. The class was
Pulitzer
session, right? A Pulitzer.
Like, I feel like I gotta take y'all everywhere with me.
A Pulitzer. Woo.
We do intros, we do outros, we do bar mitzvahs.
Listen, man. The next Spider-Man movie at the Daily Bugle, we got a spot. Bianca, listen, the new reporter gonna be black. Cut that shit out. She winning Pulitzers. The Daily Bugle, we need a spot. We need a new black journalist with some accreditation. We going to Bianca. Stop that bullshit.
Know that vibe.
Yeah.
But Bianca, we like to take it from the beginning, sis, because you first of all, you're super accomplished, right? But we want the people to understand who you are, right? Because this is all what it's about. It's more than a title. You could be a CEO, entrepreneur, but if you're a bad person, you're a bad person. We want to know who is the good person that got to where you are today. So let's start from the top, sis. Like let's early influences, growing up, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Listen, I can get all into it. I like to tell people I'm like a roundaway girl that just happens to have a Pulitzer, right? So I grew up in North Philly. I
get a horn. Yeah. You like try to get a horn? Should I not get a horn? You get some horn.
She paused for a minute. I thought she was coming with something different. That's why I wanted to wait before the reaction came out. You know what I'm saying?
No, like I grew up in North Philly, you know, in the hood, right? And so it's not the typical story when you think someone got to a Pulitzer, right? I didn't have private school. My parents weren't rich. We were poor. We didn't live in the projects, but we lived around the corner from the projects, right? And so my parents worked really, really hard. My dad was a janitor. He had served in the Navy. He got out, and that's what he wound up doing. And my mom worked at a retail store, and then she became a homemaker. I'm the oldest of 5, y'all. So like when it comes to like grind, hustle, like I was the super smart kid that y'all probably ignored when y'all was young. Like, oh, she too smart. She always reading a book. But that was
I didn't know y'all.
Like that was just me. I was always inside. I knew everything that was going on out in the streets, but I wasn't in the streets, right? So it was like I had the best of both worlds. Grew up street smart, but book smart too. And so, but something like really cool happened when I was 5. I'm not 5, in 5th grade. My 5th grade teacher told us to ask our parents for computers. So this was around a time where like everybody was like starting to get internet. So I'm not going to tell you too much of my age, but like think like late 90s, mid 90s, right? So at the time, most people didn't have computers. They didn't have internet. And so my parents got me my first computer. I went everywhere with this thing. You know how like Linus from, what was it? Snoopy, like Charlie Brown, that's where it is, where he always carried the blanket. I was always with this computer. And so I'm typing stuff into it. I learned in middle school how to use more computers, typewriters. I'm not sure if y'all remember Carmen Sandiego, the video game, or even the cartoon. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely remember Carmen. Yep.
So I played that, went to high school, a special event high school in Philly where I learned how to program. So I started, like they started us off real rough, or tough, I should say. And so along the way, I'm mixing like art and what I'm learning in the streets with computer science. Like all of it is just kind of coming together in this like really dope and amazing way. And imagine me at, let's just say 15, 16, 17 year old. I'm 17 years old trying to talk to my parents about computers. They're like, baby, I don't know what you're talking about, but keep doing that thing, right? And so you gotta love parents that really pour into their kids. Like, even though they had no idea what I was talking about, they just kept feeding me stuff, like sending me the special programs, getting me in front of people that could like really help me grow my interest in my creativity. And it was just amazing. So from there, went to college, got out. The really cool thing though was while I was in college, I worked for the school district of Philadelphia. So I'm a public school kid too, right? So I told you I don't come from money. So going through public school and then eventually being on the administrative side while I'm in college, I got to see like the disparities of technology and like based on where you lived and what district, how resources got there and how they didn't. So like imagine that like 18, 19 years old and you're seeing the inner workings of the machine, right? The man and how it all works. And all of that colored my experience. So kind of going back to the intro of like, I do this for us, right? Like I do this for people. I do this for Black people. I do this for brown people. I do this for marginalized, oppressed, underrepresented people. Of like, how can we make sure that we don't get left behind as all these innovations are happening and people are making a ton of money, right? And so how do we do that where we don't become the product? Yeah.
I do it for the children.
You do it for I didn't do one of those.
I think it starts with, I think Bianca, education is the most beautifully corrupt, most uplifting, terrible, break you down. It is the biggest controversial fucking double-sided sword ever in life, right? Because the more educated you become, the less bullshit that you tolerate. The less bullshit that you tolerate, message, start to rock the boat now, right? You start to question the organization. You start to question the society. What are we even teaching? This don't even make. This is the problem, right? It has to start for me with honesty. And I think that the problem is our own government has been lying to us for so long. They have been lying to us for so long, and the system is in place not for you to win, but for you to fail. You understand what I'm saying? When you have a system designed initially to make you fail, how do you get a winning formula from something designed to make you fail? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You understand? It's like fighting a losing battle. It's like going in a boxing ring with no arms.
Yeah,
and you can't use your feet.
But that was leading into my question though too, because that's a great segue. Because I was going to ask you, you could have been gravitated to a lot of different things, right? Your parents brought the computer, but what made you stick to that, right? What was the one thing about computers that jumped out to you that you saw and was like, no, I gotta learn this thing?
You know what? To be quite honest, I'm gonna have to say because I could take different things that I was interested in, put it in, and then create something new, right? Like I would say I'm an artist, but I'm not like your typical artist. Like I can't paint, I can't draw, but I can think the hell out of something, right? And so like if I'm able to pull different inspirations from different places, I can put it all together and then it pushes out something else. So that was probably like the motivation of like really going down the path of computers. But I wanted to touch on something that you were mentioning, that the system is designed to fail. It's designed to have people fail, but then also get them stuck as a cog in the system, right? So when you that's gonna always be.
That was a bar. I ain't gonna lie. I couldn't let you pass it.
But like, think about it like this: you spend 12. Let's just say you don't even go to college. You go just straight through school. You spend 12 years just about learning just stuff that you don't always need, right? The stuff that you really need, they don't teach you, and then they tell you at 18 you got to be responsible. You got to get a job. Well, in that job, people want you to do the work that they want you to do. They want you to do more work than they're paying you for. And then they want you to be okay with that for working for 40, 50 years and then retiring off whatever else you save. Like that to me is just crazy, right? And just imagine the amount of people out there who have like insane amounts of creativity, but because they don't fit in corporate structures, people tell them, oh, you're lazy, you can't perform. And I don't know. It was so funny. I remember one time, one of my supervisors told me that I needed to learn how to manage myself, right? Crazy. Crazy feedback to give somebody. Like, what do you do with that? But what I realized is that me as a person didn't belong in a corporate structure. I had to build my own thing. And I think like when you're really, really creative and you start asking those questions of like, this don't make sense, that don't make sense, like why are they doing that? It's just like, all right, you're going against the system and you got to make something else outside of that system for yourself.
Absolutely.
It's a lot. Like as you were even talking about that, I was just sitting there like, what are the stories? Because I used to work for really big name companies, right? In the Washington, D.C. area. That's where I am now. I'm in Baltimore. I left a couple of years ago. But I think the idea that our parents and our grandparents have told us, it's like they told us things because they told us to go down this path, go to school, go to college, get a good job, right? Retire, get married, have kids, because that to them was the formula to being well off. And we're seeing that's not the formula for everybody. Actually, it's not the formula for most people. So
I'm not. I don't like to do this a lot because I don't want to seem like I'm a rebel, but I'm a fucking rebel. That's like my thing is like, don't get mad. You want us to be smart. Like this is the lesson, right? Oh, right. Go to school, right? Mm-hmm. Study, do your books. Don't be distracted. Get in those books and learn, right? Okay, now I learned. Now you created a monster because now I learned and now I have what do you call it? Like an infinity for learning. I love to just learn. Now I'm like a fucking beast. Absorbing. I'm a beast, right? Keep learning. But see, now here's the problem. The more I learn, the less bullshit. What are you talking about? Why would I accept that when you understand? Now you start questioning everything. Like I'm even questioning math now. Like, I'm not even being funny. The other day I was thinking about something. I was teaching my son math, and we talking about math, and like, yeah, you know, binary code. And then we like regular math. I'm like, yeah, 1 times 1 is 1, and how is 1 times 0 0? Like, how does that even make sense now? So I'm a person. If I times myself by nothing, how is it 0? Do I cease to exist now? How does that even make sense? But that's what anything times 0 is 0, right?
Right.
But that's the mathematical version of what of the most basic math they teach you in school. But that goes directly against the laws of actual physics, of the law of energy, of creation, of energy and transference. How do you take something, times it by nothing, and then the initial thing disappear?
Woo, we gonna get the shit now.
So I'm just saying, like, this is what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, this is the problem, though, because you actually when you start really, really learning, you really start to question the foundation of what are you actually teaching me? See, when you're a child, you go through the motions because that's what your parents want you to do. That's the right thing to do, right? Go to school, learn get good grades. But we're getting good grades, learning incorrect strategies, learning incorrect math, learning incorrect history, right? Dr. Knowles came on and said, if we're not careful, history will become his story, right? So once again, you want us to learn all of these things, but you're teaching us incorrect and you're giving us incorrect information. We're absorbing it and we're using it now to make decisions, because people make decisions based on the information they have in front of them, and we're using it to make decisions. So if we're making decisions based on misinformation, then how can we make a good decision?
They must not let you out too much, because you. Let me tell you something.
Banned from TV.
They must not let you out, or people must not like to hear what you have to say, because a lot of what you're saying is correct.
It's
so
real.
The funny thing about what you're saying, not the funny thing, the true thing about what you're saying is, when it comes to like even my journey in tech, right? People always want to assign me as a tech lady. And even with AI now, people are like tech. I'm like, no, this is not a tech situation. This is a critical thinking and critical reasoning situation, right? And so if people don't wrap their minds around this version of tech that's coming out, this is testing like how well you think, how well you can problem solve, how well you can give instructions, how well you can reason. The tech's not gonna matter. Like, we have access to so much information, knowledge, and tools, and people are still dumb. So I'm just
a message on that. My bad.
Baby for that.
Yeah, no, oh my goodness, my damn fingers.
Give it a baby for that. That's that whole. I gotta get. You get the screaming baby for that. You get the baby.
But you get the baby. Right, but thank you for that. But like literally, that's where we are. And so you can put out all the tools all you want, but if people aren't critically thinking about these things and even asking questions like that, we're gonna still have the same problems. And so it's funny because along my journey, I've always been, I wouldn't say the contrarian. I've always kind of walked my own path. And I haven't always gone with the crowd. And so, you know, when you do that, you are weird, you're eccentric. People like, oh, what is she doing? And I'm like, I'm looking at what's happening. I'm like, this don't make sense to me. I'm going over here. And so like, and let people do what they want to do. I think that the most important thing that I want to say here is that I really want people to start questioning some of the things that they found foundational. Like they just accept without even asking any questions. Like it was a period that I did this first version of this when I got to college at 18, 19. I just started asking a bunch of questions. And the first couple of questions I started asking was about spirituality and religion. I had a lot of questions. I grew up, my grandmother was from South Carolina, so she was Southern Baptist, right? And so when we were little kids, took us to the little storefront church that was in Philadelphia. And so I got that as the start. But then, you know, I started asking questions along the way. Like, I'm not going to get into all the questions. I ain't trying to have y'all had no beef. But like, I started asking myself questions, right? And I was just like, this don't make sense. And so I just kind of like where I'm settled in life now. I think KRS-One has a really great analogy for this. So he says, you know, use your gun, right? So God, universe, and nature. And so that's how I kind of move through life now. It's not just God, it's these two other things too. And sometimes all three make sense. Sometimes they don't, right? And so it's just like,
you know what that's called, Bianca?
What?
In society, the nomenclature for the type of person that you were was you were a deviant. That's what they call it. It's called being a deviant, right? Whenever it doesn't matter what the normalcy is, right? You have normalcy, and then you have people that go against normalcy. If normalcy is rape and murder, and you're like, why would I rape and murder somebody? You're a deviant because you're deviating away from the normalcy of what the society is showing you, right? So by you going into college questioning, well, how do you teach us from kindergarten critical thinking? Make it make sense to me, right? Make it make sense. And then when I ask you, how does this make sense? Now I'm the bad guy. You taught me for 12 years, right? 12 years, not including, and I'm one of the kids that went to pre-K. So let's count that as like 13.
Right.
13 years of school.
Yeah.
And the moment I start questioning, but how do we progress as a culture? How do we progress as a nation? How do we progress as a species if we don't ask questions? If we're not constantly challenging what we know to be true, then how do you get technology? How do you get us to move forward? So you got to make it. See, I don't like the straddling of the fence shit. You do it on this end, and it's okay when you do it, but when we do it, it's a problem.
But it's the programming, like Bianca said. It's the program. Like, it's one thing to question when you're in college, is another thing to question when you're in corporate. Right? Because you're trained and taught how to do a specific thing to get your job accomplished. And that's what you think the norm is, right? And I'll give you a perfect example. I was in sales for 10, 11 years, right? What they used to tell me, volume, right? Your activity. You cold call people, make 1,000 cold calls and you'll be successful, right? Did that shit for 4 years. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I calling 1,000 people to get 2 meetings? Like, that makes zero sense, right? How much money are you losing on the 998 calls that I made? Right? What if I don't get somebody to book that day? I felt, what was my day a failure? So what does that look like, right? So I just started thinking, okay, now I'm questioning that, right? I'm questioning the old sales techniques, right? I'm saying relationships. You told me the black book was important. So I'm going to build a bunch of relationships and I'm going to drive my revenue, right? Don't matter. I could come in there from 9 to 1. I'm going to clock out by 2 o'clock, but my revenue's there. Talk to me. So it's just, but then when you do that, when you become in that and you become that knowledge, you have that knowledge, they don't like that in corporate.
Yeah, and you know what? As you were talking, and I'm gonna go back to this word deviant because I just think it sounds funny, right? And I'm gonna just talk to the parents out there. I don't have any kids, but if you got that kid that's the rebel, that's the deviant, encourage it. Like the one that's always asking questions, the one that's just like, this don't make sense,
right?
Because you'll find that they'll be able to see things that maybe because you've been so socially conditioned to like the environment that you don't see anymore. And so kids, I think, are really special because they'll say things that'll be so unfiltered. Like, it might hurt your feelings.
There it is. Let me tell you, those children, Bianca, if you, 2 actions. If you foster that deviancy, that's your next NASA rocket scientist, right? That's your next MIT graduate that's going to come up with some shit that's like, wow, I would have, you understand? But then if you quell that, if you be like, oh, you're acting out, right? You're not behaving, you quell that, then you destroy that learning process, and then they lose all their potential. Look, Jaden came in, right? Jaden said we here, and look what Jaden said. That's what I'm experiencing now, right? He's laughing. And then he also said Terrence Howard also talked about this. Jaden, if you could send me the joint where Terrence Howard actually talked about it, I would be very interested in looking at that.
I think that was the Joe Rogan one. If I'm not
was it on Joe Rogan?
I think it was Joe Rogan. He was going crazy. Yeah.
So once again, right? You see, like you have, like this is it bothers me. It really bothers me because it's like we're hamsters on a fucking wheel, right? Do you truly want us to evolve as a species? Do you truly want us to be the best possible versions of human beings we can be? Or do you want us to be smart enough to fit as a cog in the machine, enough to do our jobs like worker bees, do what we're told like good little boys and girls, and work till we die?
Yeah, well, you know,
tell me.
No, you're spot on, because one of the things that I will give my parents praise for, even though we didn't have a lot, they've always nourished me. They always fed me. They always warded everything that I wanted to do, right? And even if they had no clue about it, especially when I asked them for that computer, they're like, she want a computer? Okay, we're going to put it under the tree. And it was nothing fancy. It was probably like under $100. It was a little trivia computer or whatever, but that sparked my curiosity, right? Or like, you know, some of those kids I see from time to time on Christmas, they are more interested in playing with the box than what came in the box, right? Like, let them play with the box. Don't get mad that they ain't played with the big 4-wheeler truck, truck bike thing that you bought. Like, If they want to build stuff with boxes and, you know, create castles and spaceships and I don't know, submarines, let them do that. But I think that parents encouraging the little odd things that their kids do, like creativity and imagination wise, you just never know who you got on your hands. Like I was watching an Instagram video of a little boy, he has to be less than 4 in London, that knows the whole London transportation system. Like he made a map with his crayons. Oh, you know who I'm talking about? Made a map with his crayons. He got his mom to take him on the bus. He can tell her like what stop is where. Like he knows the bus system way better than she does. I think it might be the same little boy. He made colors out of the primary colors. He made primary colors, secondary colors, and then tertiary colors. Like he's up here naming colors. I'm like, oh, I need to get my weight up.
Right.
This little boy is like,
what I'm saying.
Right?
If you look at society, look at the people that we're celebrating. Look at the people that have done things that technically no other person has done at their level, right? And then look when their parents started to foster that talent, right? Look at Tiger Woods, right? One of the goats of golf, but look at when he started golf. You understand? Look at Venus and Serena Williams, the best to ever do it until you understand. Thank you. Look at people like Kobe Bryant, right? Look at people where their parents nurtured, right? Lenny Kravitz, like look at anybody. Beyonce, think about when she started to do singing and that was nurtured. So society's already showing us that if you nurture these abilities early, these people end up being superstars, right? Because now they're like, oh, you believe in me? Now let's go, right?
Yeah, but like you said, it's the nurture, right? No, it's the nurture. What did Dr. No say? He said the craziest shit ever on the show. He said, yo, if they wanted to be a nurse, I'd have bought a hospital. So that level of commitment to your kid, no matter what they are. Sometimes as parents, we want them to do what we want them to do. We want them to be a doctor, the lawyer. We want you to be the first person to graduate college. We want you to do this, break generational curses, instead of just letting them be.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something, Bianca. Like for me, right? I'm an urban kid, and when you grow up in a society that doesn't celebrate education, see, in my hood, it wasn't education. If you was a nerd, we beat you up. Like it was not celebrated. Being smart was like being dumb. Like, oh, you smart. Like we frowned upon that, not realizing how ignorant we actually are. But we're raised in a system where intelligence isn't celebrated, right? So I used to get in trouble a lot in school because I couldn't sit still because it was boring to me. Now, my parents didn't understand, like, he's bad, he's all over the place, because you're not challenging me, because this shit is boring to me. I've learned this. I tell this story, and anybody that grew up with me, anybody that got any contrary to say, I dare you to bring it forward and I'll prove you wrong. I say this all the time. I was the valedictorian of every school I got kicked out of. Is that the most ignorant shit you've ever heard in your life? I've gotten more, every school I got kicked out of, I've gotten the top awards, reading, math, this, and almost every school I got kicked out of. They didn't even let me give my I was the valedictorian of my junior high school, and the principal pulled my mother to the side. He's gonna get 10 awards. He's gonna get top reading, top this, top. We will not let him give the speech. He just cursed out the assistant principal 2 days ago. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna conform to what you want me to conform to. If you're not gonna challenge me, then I'm not gonna conform to this. Y'all pass your tests and this and that, you know, but I'm not gonna conform to. I've always been that. You understand? But it wasn't for me and other children like me. You know what happens when you don't nurture that energy? We put that shit into something else. And 99% of the times, it's not a positive thing.
Right. And you know what's really brilliant about that is there's so much Black brilliance happening in the hood, right? In our communities, that people mix label for being bad and disruptive and too talkative. And I'm just like, no, you just got to find somewhere to channel the energy. And it's crazy because it's like children have the most creativity. They don't have a lot of filters just yet, especially ones in like elementary school, right? And so you're starting to see their personalities and what they're capable of, and like they're so fearless. And it's like, if we just take those opportunities to nurture, or at least find ways to like channel the energy so that they can get that out, that there's some kind of creative expression, we'll just see what happens. I know that Pharrell is dropping his Lego movie, right? Mm-hmm. And so part of the promo, he says in there, and I thought it was brilliant. He said, I see in music. He says, I see music. And I was just like, that is so dope, because like how many kids are like in class beating banging on the desk, making beats, and they might be the next Metro Boomin, right? But stop making that noise, right? Message.
The timing.
I mean, listen, and I'm gonna give credit what credit is due for all the negative things that R. Kelly is guilty of. He's a perfect example of that. Like, he could not read music.
Oh, he could. You somewhere else with that. I ain't
no.
I'm glad you went that way.
No. He couldn't read. R. Kelly can't read sheet music. As a musician, he can't read sheet music.
Or
but
contracts.
All he has to do is hear it, and then he can like see it, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? There's so many different ways to learn. There's so many different ways to express the creativity. Everybody doesn't learn the same. Everybody can still accomplish getting the job done, just in a different way of how they go about doing it. But once again, if we don't nurture that, you lose that. So my godson is we're cousins, right? But he's also my godson. Jarrett's son is 5. He has the youngest kid of us, right? Okay. Right. We talk about this all the time. Like, he's in a room writing movie scripts and writing yo, listen, we're gonna draw this and we're gonna write at 5, right? You nurture that, he's the next Steven Spielberg at 15. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, he's gonna explode if we nurture that now, because he's like, oh, y'all supporting me, we're gonna do YouTube. Now he can explode. Now he's like, I'm ready. You see, but if Jarrett shuts that down, if you shut that down, now he's gonna be like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't. Now he still has all that energy, all that creativity, but where's he gonna funnel that creativity into now?
That's a fact.
And that's all I'm saying, right? A lot of our culture that we get in trouble for dealing drugs and this and this and that. If you think about the people that get in trouble and what they have accomplished, these guys, they run Fortune 500 companies. They've made more money.
Look at Big Meech.
Look at Meech. Like, you understand? Like,
a nationally publicly traded company.
He gave up. Look, he gave up $300 million. That wasn't all the money. He just gave that up to get okay, I'm gonna take this deal and I'm gonna go to jail and I'm gonna give you the $300 million that you're looking for, but you don't even, I got way more than that stashed away, but I'm gonna give you this to get off. But this is what I'm saying, right? A lot of the people that we celebrate, look at how they start. Look at Jay-Z. Like, you understand? Luck of the draw that you wasn't in Marcy when that indictment came through. That's the only reason he's free now, because he'd have got caught up in that, and he just wasn't there when it came through. You understand? But again, look at how they started. Look at what they knew how to do and how to put it together. And then when they got a chance, look how they funneled it into something else. You see what I'm saying?
300 million talk. You know,
we got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
So you 300 million is a big ass number, but you know what? If you buy it more than a title shirt, you see, bro, with the ocean blue, you see it. We got the turquoise, we got the whites, we got the navies. Hold on, let me show brother shirt.
I had to rock it, and you know why I rocked it? You know why I rocked it? Because I bought the Team Minutes piece back out, and it got the blue diamonds in it, so I had to wear the shirt to match the blue diamonds. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and my boy style, I love it.
You got to coordinate, but
chain sold separately, y'all. Y'all cannot get it, but
you got to coordinate. You don't get it with the order, but you know we can work something out
with some swag, with some sauce. You can get it, but we can't. We got courses. You want to be like Chad? You want to talk this shit on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Scan the code. We got courses, how to build on LinkedIn, beanies, cups, mugs, all that. Make sure it's still Father's Day. I don't care. Make sure you get your father a mug, man. He'll love it.
And I'm just telling y'all, right, because I'm not being funny, but we have to understand this as a culture, right? Yeah. Education is always going to be the most valuable commodity that you can ever obtain. Money is bullshit. It's money used to be salt. It used to be pepper. Money is just a commodity that can be traded. They can call it something different. They can design it differently. But the knowledge of actually how to build something, how to sustain something, that can never be taken away. They can take money from you. They can take your house, your car. They can do all of that, lock you up, but they can never take this. And that's what we have to keep preaching. Like, the new cool kids is the smart kids. The new cool kids are the motherfucking nerds with the pocket protectors. That's the ones we need to protect, because those are going to be the ones that truly change the world. Because at the end of the day, we laughed and we joked, right? We beat up the nerds in high school and all that. And then you know what ended up happening? You end up working for them same dudes that you beat up. So when you go for that interview and you used to beat up little Tommy with the pocket protector and you going like, I'm here to see Mr. Morrison. They like, Johnny, you remember you used to, yeah, you remember you used to slap me and take my chocolate milk in high school?
Sure, remember.
Now you want a job? Yeah, go clean that toilet.
Shit. That's what happens.
Right. Right.
Oh, man.
I'm just being honest with you. Like,
but we're talking about something good, because that's what the earlier question for you, Bianca, was like the mindset. So what do you think is something, and you said you worked in the public schools, right? How do we get the kids to shift that mindset those deviant minds. They'd be like, yo, anything is possible. Only way you can show them is through success, I see. You know what I'm saying? They got to see and touch it. They got to be like, okay, you can actually be on the couch and talk to this one. You can do this. You can make money, do this way. You don't have to go the norm, right? Our whole company's outside the box, you know?
Yeah, but I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here.
Keep it real.
It starts with
controversy. We got third period.
There you go.
Let's bring you in the right way. Let's bring you in the right way. Let's bring you in the right way. Here we go.
So it starts with the teacher and the leadership. It's not even the students. Because fortunately, teachers have a really unique way of gathering attention. Like they're able to keep it like in a way that their parents really can't, right? And so yes, the parents should be doing something at home to kind of like get them prepared to be open-minded and, you know, use their creativity and inspiration. But they spend a hot 8 hours almost in school. And so I think a lot of times what we've seen is that a lot of teachers, some of them don't encourage the creativity and the inspiration. Is kind of like, let's, you know, make sure that they can pass these tests so that we can get our funding and then we move them off to the next grade. I've had some really great teachers along the way, like my 5th grade one, Mrs. Griffin, who suggested that I ask my parents for a computer. I didn't know what a computer was at 10, right? But she made this blanket statement to everybody. I asked, I got it, and then this sent me off to the races, right? And so having teachers introduce things to kids that maybe they are not exposed to in their communities, in their neighborhoods, in their environments that they grow up in. But then also the other side of that is the leadership fighting for the students to have more innovative tools and resources inside the school to learn, right? And so we all know, like, depending on your zip code, depends on the types of resources, how new your computers are, how new your books are, how well your teachers are paid, how much care. So all of that kind of goes together. And so I'm not going to put this all on teachers, but I think a lot of it, public education, if your kid is going to public school, we need to do way more about that. But then on the other side, when it comes to parents, kind of like what we've already been talking about, is like nurture that weirdness in your kid. Like, even if you don't understand it, like they're like, I want to make fairy wings, then help them make the fairy wings. Like you don't know if those fairy wings are going to turn into costume design for Hollywood blockbusters, right? Like you just don't know where it's going to go, but you know, foster the curiosity that they have. But I wanted to get back to something that you had mentioned before. I'm going to call it street pharmacists. You are absolutely right. These men and these women are brilliant. And, you know, looking at the other side of this, like, let's say, you know, they go in, they come out. I really wish, and I'm gonna give somebody out here a free business idea, because I really want to see somebody do this, is finding a way to work.
Hold on, if you're gonna give business advice,
hold on, you give it away. Hold on, we gotta get the bells ready. Here we go. Now we gotta get
economics, business.
Here we go.
Make sure they pay.
Wait, and you know, because you God-fearing woman and all that. Let me just.
She's preaching.
If you preaching, let me get you in. Let me warm you up, Bianca. Let me get you in there the right way. You know, get them horses ready for you to go. You know what I'm saying? Let them know.
Listen, I just want somebody to help these brothers and sisters coming out to leverage the knowledge that they've accumulated in building those businesses to help other Black small businesses get to that level, right? So like, for instance, I think the last stats were like in 2019 or so, I think American Express did a study. Black women running businesses were making like $24,000 on average in their, like, it's just ridiculous.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. But like, when you think about it, these were, and this was before the pandemic, right? Women leaving their jobs because they're not getting the opportunities that they feel like they deserve in corporate, right? And they're like, okay, we can go out here. I can go out here and do it myself. And then, not saying that they're not smart. Of course they're smart, but like, when it comes to running an enterprise, there's so many different pieces to it. Like, it took me several years, and I got an MBA, right, to really like pull all the pieces together and also have the confidence to go and walk into these meetings and get people to buy stuff. And like you said, those 1,000 phone calls and getting 2 meetings, like that's a good starting out, right? Like, if you don't have a system. And so I would really love to see someone create a program for these brothers and sisters coming out who have built successful enterprises that they, 300 million was nothing, right? To help some of these small businesses in communities really stand up what they have. So, because like, when you think about it, and I'm gonna try not to go too far down a tangent here, unemployment rates for Black people are the highest of any group, right? What happens? We tend companies tend to hire people who look like them. So if Black people don't have successful Black businesses in Black communities, that means we can't hire a lot of people, right?
Message.
Yeah, I want to say that the stats are like 97% of all Black businesses are like solopreneurs, or like they have staff, like some crazy number like that.
Yeah, and don't get VC cap. They don't get no venture. We get 1% of VC, and Black women 0.2% of the Black of the venture.
Remember the lawsuit in the federal government right now against the company
that was
promoting giving Black companies priority for the VC capital. And you know what they did? They're suing them. Oh, that's not fair. It's never fair when we're trying to look out for each other, right? It's never fair. When you guys are looking out for each other, oh, that's the right thing to do. It's norm. This is what you should do. And then when we do it, it's You got an MBA. You got an MBA, Bianca, right? You know what I say? You got an MBA, right?
Yeah. Okay,
I stopped short of finishing I got a business degree also, but I ended up changing because I did construction. I was going to get my MBA. I was going to Baruch Zicklin School of Business, right? I got accepted. I think I had like a 3.9 GPA. I got accepted. I was going to do my MBA in Baruch, right? And I ended up switching it for my engineering degree and my construction management degree because I was in construction. But I want to say this to you. I think that we should scrub the entire educational system, like in its form right now. And really redesign it from the bottom up and say, what are we really trying to teach, right? That's number one. Number two, and you explain it to me, right? And again, these are people with MBAs and PhDs, and you're still a moron. How is it possible? How is it possible that the child that gets most of their education from the teacher, and I have teachers that have changed my life, right? That impact, that have completely changed my life.
Yeah.
How is it that the person that is responsible for the primary education of your child gets paid on average half to below average pay to the person that keeps your child incarcerated or guards your child when your child gets locked up? Teachers on average get paid half or even under half of what law enforcement, police, and COs and POs get paid. How do you explain that?
Message.
Straight face and then want us to be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yes, pay the person the lowest so that they struggle and can't live and can't survive, so that they're not the best to teach our kids to be the best, to stop them from getting in trouble. But when they do get in trouble, let's pay them $200,000, $300,000 to keep you in jail and keep you. Explain to me how that makes sense.
Listen, I already told you they must not let you outside.
You tell me.
You're speaking. But you're speaking nothing but truth. I agree with everything you just said. And the even really sicker thing about that, though, is I want to say they use, is it third grade reading levels to determine how many prisons to build?
See?
So, yeah. And then a lot of prisons right now are privatized. I think in the North, we've gotten that somebody did something where there's less prisons being built in the North, but more prisons being built in the South.
Yep.
See? Yeah. So
but that's by mistake though.
Oh, it's not.
Right.
It's not.
No, but that's what they want us to believe. That's just a coincidence, Chadeo. Oh, I'm sorry. Feed me more bullshit, sir. Yes, feed me more.
I would love that. I would love that.
I would love a full helping of bullshit soup. Come on, man.
A full serving.
Like, like, come on, Bianca. Like, I'm just being honest. Like,
I know you're being honest. I know
you got a person that's from here, right? Because a lot of teachers teach from here. Because why would you take a job knowing you're going to struggle? Why would you take a job knowing that economically you're going to be below so many other people in life? You do it for the love, right? So what you're doing is, that's why even New York City, you know, at a I don't know if they still have the program, but it was so few Black teachers that they started offering programs where it's like, yo, we'll pay for your college, we'll pay for this. You can start and then go to school, and we'll still, you know why? Because why would we take a job where we're gonna struggle? Why would we take a job where we know we can't even live, and then you want me to go to work and be the best that I can be? How would you understand? You're jading people, you're straying people away from that career.
Too much at stake for that.
You understand? What are we talking about? And then when you get Jarrett's mother, assistant principal, once she gets to a certain level, She can't move from school to school. You know why? Because she makes too much. If she wants to go to an underprivileged school with her knowledge, being in the game 20 years, now I want to go to an underprivileged school and give that knowledge and help them get their scores up and change the whole system. You know what they're going to say? You make too much. You make too much. We can get 3 teachers for your salary, 3 brand new moron teachers that don't know what they're doing instead of getting 1 phenomenal. Like, how do you explain that?
It's a lot of bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, but again, this goes back to the critical theme of the conversation, right?
Right.
Thinking, reasoning, innovation, supporting the development of children, and also repurposing the brilliance of people, right? So you already know there's way more to what you're saying right now.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack, but I want to make sure that people walk away with like some key stuff, right? Because there's a lot in what you just said. But the most important thing here, you know, and what was really pivotal for my journey is I had parents that really poured into me no matter what I wanted to do, even if they didn't understand it. They've made sacrifices for me when, you know, most people are like, well, we don't have money for that. My parents just kind of figured it out.
I get a horn.
Yeah, they just figured it out. And so, like I said, I'm the oldest of 5, so I wasn't the only one. But like, I don't know. I just think that they saw something special in what I was doing, even though they didn't quite understand it, and they nurtured it. And here we are, right? And so a lot of my work goes back to my early roots from working in the school district, but then also seeing the inequities of like in corporate America. And that was a beast in itself. I mean, I want to say at the height of my career, before I left, before the Pulitzer, there was one company I was working in where I was like one of 150 people, and I was the only Black woman. And I remember telling my boss, who was a Filipino woman at the time, I said, hey, I'm the only Black woman here. She goes, no, you're not. And I said, I'm gonna need you to close your eyes. I'm gonna need you to imagine. And then she closed her eyes. She goes, oh my God, Bianca, you're right. I said, yeah, I know. I walk into this every day, right? And so how all of that just kind of relates to the overall theme here is that even when you nurture your kid, also prepare them that they may be the only one that looks like them in that room, and that they don't have to represent all Black people. That is not their responsibility. Yeah, because I mean, if you try to represent all Black people in non-Black spaces, it's going to make you go crazy. Like, there were a couple of moments where I've gotten into it with like C-level people, you know, mid-level management, where I'm like, am I the one that's like losing my mind? Like, am I imagining this is happening? I mean, everything from sexism, racism, just any ism, right? And so I just think that it's our jobs as parents, as community members, as aunties, uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers, whomever, is to raise the strongest children you can.
Message.
It takes a village.
Yeah, I want to just get to some of the comments. Go ahead, Jack.
You know, because something she said that resonated, being the only Black. I was the same way at a tech company. 2 out of 336 people. Yeah. And people don't understand how difficult that is when you are the one. Like, if you have to learn behavior. I didn't know jive talk. I didn't know what the cooler talk was. I didn't know what to say to you. I'm straight from the street, and I'm trying to make some commission. So I'm just trying to, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get in where I fit in, right? And that's so difficult. But I would love for you to kind of go on. What was that one?
Wait, Jack. I want to, before we get too far, because people are commenting on what you said before, so I don't want to pass that. Yeah. So Jaden was saying there's science, mathematics, and tech and music, right? And Jaden, you are absolutely correct, brother. You know, music is such fluid motion, man. There's so many things that go into making music, technology that helps us bring new music and bring it to society in new ways. Absolutely, right? And then he goes on and said, Bianca isn't wrong. It's taking me a minute to figure this out, right? Also, the majority of Black-owned businesses are solopreneurs that have 5 or fewer employees. Jaden, guess what? You know, even though we have a business, we don't have 5 employees. How about that?
And we've never done business with a Black-owned business.
Right. How about that? So you're absolutely right, Jaden. And again, we're transparent on this show. The most employees we've had, I think, was 3 to 4. You understand? But that's still under 5, and you're absolutely correct, right? And then also he said, we need to, you know, pull their children out of schools and develop our own curriculum. And that's the key right there, Jay. the homeschooling and building our own curriculum, that's the nail in the Jaden. You the MVP right now of the show. I'm telling you, that's the nail in the coffin. As parents, as the village, as the community that it takes to raise just one person, we need to start prioritizing our role in our children's education and start taking a more hands-on approach instead of most parents sending their kids off to school as babysitting services. Get this motherfucker away. I know that they glad to get my ass out the house for 10 hours a day. Go harass somebody.
Well, so let me say something about this comment, because when you mentioned it before, I had it in my mind, and I'm glad that this person mentioned it. There is a Dr. Godi Muhammad out of Chicago. And so she has a framework basically of how you teach Black people. And so it has 5 different things to it. The first thing is you got to tackle identity. Like our kids and people learning have to know who they are and where they come from. That's the most important thing, right? The second thing talks about learning skills, and everyone learns skills through whatever capacity. But like, just take business. If someone doesn't believe that they're a business owner, it doesn't matter how much education that you give them, because they still don't believe it. They still don't identify with it. The same thing with like being a smart kid. If someone's going to school and they don't think they're a smart kid, they're not going to adopt those things of like learning, right? So that is that. The third step is around like, how do you apply those skills to whatever it is that you're doing? Because people can learn stuff, but then they're like, well, how do I use it? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you got to teach them how to apply it, right? The fourth thing that Dr. Goldie talks about is criticality. And what that basically means is like, how do you take what you've learned as you apply it and then disrupt systems? So what you're talking about, Chadeo, right? Like, it's not enough to build something. You got to build it in a way that either is repairing harm that has already been done or prevent future harm, or just completely dismantling something that's just fucked up in the first place, right?
Message.
And the somber one.
You get all 3 messages for that, all 3.
It's okay. And there's one last thing. And so the really beautiful thing, she wraps up her framework around how do you do this in a way that is joyful. And I think a lot of times education, going to school can be traumatic depending on what neighborhood you live in, if there's violence or whatever. But like, how do you make learning joyful in a good experience? And so if you're able to put all 5 of those things together, specifically in developing curriculum for Black kids and Black people, you're winning, because education traditionally is not created like that. So just FYI.
Yeah, and that's why I love, shout out to I forget his name, but my neighbor's uncle, his name is Banks. He opened up one of the, I think it's called Harlem Success Academy or something like that. Shout out to all the people that are opening up these charter schools with completely different educational charters and holding our kids to a different standard, saying, listen, you're going to come here and we're going to teach different. You're going to learn a different curriculum, because that is what is needed. We have to start taking control, because we might be one of the richest countries in the world economically overall, but intelligence wise, level for level, we're far behind in the educational level compared to some of these other Asian countries. And we are not even like close, you understand? And if you look at like China's educational system, like it is completely different. But then you wonder where a lot of the new age leading technology and stuff is coming from. You understand? Like, is that a coincidence, sir?
Yeah, you said in Asian countries, they teach identity from 4 to 6. They don't even go curriculum. They teach identity, culture. What are you supposed to do? Like, what cartoons we're going to be watching? Why are we watching these cartoons? And then they get into the curriculum. And
take it back further than that. Think about the Asian cultures of when a child was born into a specific culture or system, they dedicated their entire life to that one system, right? So, like the samurai and this and that. Like, if you're born something, this is what you are, this is what you be, you dedicate your life to it. And the level that they get to with the martial arts and these things, because they've dedicated it can't be compared. It can't be compared because you've nurtured that from a child. So that's all I'm saying, right? I'm tired of the bullshit. Really, I really am, right? The older I get, the less I am like susceptible to the bullshit, because at the end of the day, I keep saying it on the show, we are losing, and we are losing bad. I don't understand why y'all keep wanting to play this game that you know you're losing. Like, you know, it's not like you don't know we're losing. You know we're losing. You know they're trampling on us. You know they're spitting in our face and laughing at us. And yet and still, you are scared to revolt. You're scared to be disruptive. And I keep saying this all the time. What they've taken everything from us. We ain't got shit anyway. What Trump said it the best, right? Trump came out. At least I gotta respect his honesty. You know what he said to blacks at one of the rallies? What do you have to lose?
He literally said that. He said your school systems are the worst off. Look, your communities are decimated.
Look, Cat, keep going.
Yeah, he said your parents are going to jails, they're being incarcerated. Right. He said all of that.
Right.
So what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose by electing me? Like,
because Democrats been running this for the past 100 years. So what are you going to lose with me?
Thank you.
Give me a shot.
For him to say that with a straight face and people to resonate, because Trump got a lot of black votes. Believe it.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I share that sentiment, right? You know, you can not like everything a person does, but there's still learning that you can do from anybody. But he's absolutely right. Like, what do we have to fucking lose? We don't have anything else to lose. You understand what I'm saying? They're separating the black man from the family, which automatically now, when you're not in a two-person household with a black man and a black woman, or black and brown, doesn't matter, a two-person household, the raising of the child is different right off the bat, right? You're missing that male presence, that authority, right? That's first of all. Second of all, what they're doing aggressively is they're feminizing and demasculating the black man, right? Because you keep pushing all of this LGBTQ and all this, every commercial, but you're demasculizing the black man, right? You're making him less masculine and more feminine. So now it's like, what the fuck are we teaching our
Hate it.
I'm saying, like, what are we actually teaching? And you're doing that for a reason, because the less masculine we are, the less aggressive we are. The less masculine we are, the less we are likely to kick back against the system in a way that we can actually get change, right? There will be no revolution if everybody's scared to fight. There will be no revolution if everybody's scared to go to jail. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we have to kill that programming, but the only way to do that is to put ourselves into position. This is how we do it. Stop fighting the system and become the system, right? Like Chris Brown said, you complain about the club, you can't even get in. You outside the door. You can't change it from the outside, right? So what we need to do is come together and start nurturing these minds that we know have the right idea, and start putting them into position, right? And when they start being into position, then we can start controlling different aspects of different things. And then when we come together, then we can make change across the board. Because it's a systematic change that we need to do.
The ones that do get there, we talk about this a lot. The ones that get there and fought so much that they want to hold on to the little bit they have, that they don't want to put the ladder down. There's only a few. Because we're saying that we can't get in those rooms, right? We can't even get in the club. I got in the club and I'm in the VIP, and now I got to bring everybody in there, and everybody might not have the same mindset as I do to get there. So it's a double-edged sword, bro. Like, it's the same thing with the curriculum. We always say this about the curriculum. Who's going to start? Who's putting pen to paper? Who's putting pen to paper?
Yeah.
So I can know. So I can get my draft.
So that's what I'm saying, Bianca. You know, like I said, it's a give and a take about, you know, the getting in trouble thing. People can look at it and say, like, yo, that's a bad thing. You got in trouble a lot. I go, it's actually a phenomenal thing. You know why? Because now I have balance. Now I have balance. You see, I'm not afraid. What you gonna do? I've been locked up. What you gonna do? I already know how to be. What you gonna do? I know what the system is. I already know. I've educated myself. There's only so much you can do to me. So you see, I have balance now. I'm not afraid to fight for what I believe in. But when you don't have that balance, then you're afraid of what the consequences are, because you don't know how to deal with it. That's why this generation has a completely different let's just say, like, thing that they're going through than what we used to go through, right? Because this generation is what? Socially awkward, right? That's why you see more crimes now being around men against women, the rejection, and they don't know how to handle it. The suicide rate of children have gone up. You know why? Because y'all wasn't outside like we was outside. See, we was outside with no phones, no computers. We played hopscotch, tag, and we understood rejection. We understood talking to somebody, developing social skills. When you got told no, you develop strength and understand, well, you're not going to get told yes every time. But see, when you don't have these things, because everybody's text message, FaceTime, and you don't develop certain traits, when you experience something, you're not equipped to handle the situation.
But that's a good segue to you, Bianca. What was the thing that made you say F corporate? I can't deal with this shit. What was the one that made you just the one situation? Because you deal with every ism. There had to be one. And I'll give you context. Like, I've had to cut my hair for raises. I've got fired when I was the top performer, all types of shit, right? And then it got to the point where I was the last job. I was in corporate America, the top performer. They stayed there parading me around like the brand. I was damn near like the logo. Real shit. And then they fired me. And I'm like, how the fuck John Smith got a job? How the fuck is that possible?
Kanye said it with the Gap.
Yeah, how the fuck is he there? This motherfucker don't send. He sent 1,000 emails.
I'm your favorite nigga.
Don't even work.
Right.
So let me answer that question. So you asked me what was the ism?
No. What was the one thing in corporate that made you say F it? That I'm going on my own?
It was one of the isms, capitalism, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So capitalism specifically, when I figured out that how much they were paying me, they were making more money off my labor. I was like, oh, we gotta take the talents to South Beach, right? Like when you realize like what you're getting paid in salary isn't necessarily what it costs them, is only a fraction of the cost like of your output. Yeah. Then I was just like, oh, so what would happen if I just started my own business? You know, I can make my own hours. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but like I'll have freedom. I don't have to ask people for time off. And so that was the thing. I caught myself staring out the window once and was just like, this can't be my life. Like I'm literally like trying to watch traffic, trying to figure out like when to go home. This was at the time I was working in Virginia. It took maybe like an hour and a half to get home, to just go 11 miles, right, around the beltway of DC. And I was just like, yeah, no, this is not it. But I think it's really important for kind of going back to some of the core themes here is people, critically thinking about not necessarily just what's best for them, but like what's best for communities and what's best for the world, right? And so we can make a lot of decisions that seem like this is really good for me, but could be really detrimental to your whole family, right? Potentially. And so,
no diddy.
Yeah, so I think while I'm not a Trump fan, I know a lot of people are, and I know people are going to vote however they vote, and I don't want to tell anybody to do anything differently, but it's just like, just weigh all of the things, right? Like, it's not just this one soundbite, right? Like,
of course,
he has a track record, and let me just go at this from being a woman. He don't got a good record with women. It's so like,
again, but be clear. I made a point on that. Like I said, I did constructions. I was part of a union. We built a lot of his buildings downtown. I personally worked on a lot of Trump buildings. We built a lot of the Manhattan skyline are Trump buildings, and he doesn't have a good track record with unions, and he doesn't have a good track record in a lot of things, right? But two things can always be true, right? When you look at sometimes our options, and I look at the elections and the political landscape, and I say it's always like bad or worse. It's like the lesser of two evils. Now I'm being honest. Like it's really, it's been a very long time since we've had a candidate that we're like, no, this is the guy. It's always like the lesser of two evils. Like, this guy's gonna kick me in the stomach, but this guy's gonna kick me in the stomach and kick me in the ass and then kick me out the country. You know what I'm saying? So like, what do you want? Like, at least I get some stomach cramps and I can stay here. You understand what I'm saying? You know what? My biggest thing, Bianca, is this, and I think human beings have been overlooking this for too long, and it's really starting to come back and bite us in the ass.
What's that?
So people think that because you get to a different position, economically, socially, whatever, that you are now absolved or, isolated from the rest of the world that doesn't have your position. And they're coming face to face with this reality now, right? You get to these offices and you get to these positions of power and you feel like, oh, my family good, my family rich, but your family doesn't live in a bubble, homie. Your family travels. Your family goes to the grocery store and there's poverty everywhere, right? So when your family now meets somebody else that doesn't have that education, that's not living the same way, that's in a whole different mindset, now they are a victim of what that person's mindset is in that moment. You see how that works? So you're not isolated. And that's what I don't understand. It's like you're not on an island by yourself. And they only start to realize it when now you're seeing all of these tragedies and these just egregious acts of violence that's starting to happen, that's because people are starving. People are homeless. You understand? People are like, yo, we gonna do whatever we gotta do. So in order to change that, we have to reset. We have to reset and stop being greedy and start thinking about people as human beings. Once we get back to the human being effect and say, how do we better our race as human beings? Then and only then I think that we can start moving this thing forward. Other than that, I'm gonna be honest with you, like we're heading towards disaster. Like things are not getting better. Things are getting absolutely worse. Inflation keeps going up at record numbers. Cost of living is going up in record numbers. People that are retiring are not getting a cost of living increase, Social Security, et cetera, et cetera. What are you going to do? That means you can't retire anymore, right? Because you're going to retire for a couple of years, then you got to go get another job at a third of the pay of what you were working at your regular job. You should have fucking stayed working for that, right? Right. What are we at? Healthcare is going up. They're making it almost impossible for you to survive. And now with BlackRock and all these people buying up the properties, they're going to make it almost impossible for you to own anything. You don't see what's happening.
You know, this is why I said they don't let you outside. Not too many people know about BlackRock, but we can talk about that another day.
I'm just saying, Bianca, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. This is going to make you laugh. So I'm a United States Marine. I was in the Marine Corps. And when you talk about racism, that the military almost at its highest form, right? So the funny thing is, we had a deployment one time. I was in school for my computer degree because that was my first degree in computers. I was in school and I used to always buck the system. They hated me, right? They'd be like, oh, you're gonna do this, oh, you're gonna do that. Oh, absolutely not. See the charter right here, see my contract that I signed. You will allow me to go to school and da-da-da. And if not, you're in violation of the contract. You want to violate the contract, Lieutenant, whatever? They used to hate me, right? And I jammed myself one time, but I had to do it. We had a deployment to Africa. Yeah. We were going to train in Africa for 3 months to go across seas. Whenever the military goes to a deployment, they go and train in a similar environment first to get you acclimated to the weather and the climate and everything. They don't just throw you in there. So we were going to go to Afghanistan and things were happening. We were going to go to Kuwait. So we went to Africa to train in a similar environment. There's like 3 black people in my entire platoon. The platoon is like 500 people. So when I seen the paperwork, they like, oh, we going to Africa. I'm like, oh yeah, we going to Africa. They're like, no, not you. We're going to Africa. I'm like, you're not even black. Like, it's no way you think you're going to Africa and I'm not going to Africa, right? Like, it's only 3 black. There's no way you're going to Africa and I'm not going to Africa. So they're like, well, as per the contract, they try to use it against me, right? I said, you're absolutely right. Then I got a letter from school saying I could, because my GPA was 4.0, I can do my schoolwork remotely and I can do my homework and stuff like that, right? So they had to take me to Africa. I loved Africa, and then they jammed the shit out of me when I came back because the next deployment was cold weather training in the mountains where they from. And I'm like, oh, I don't do cold weather. I'm a summer baby. and they like, oh, yes, you do, because your GPA says you can do your fucking homework remotely. So I'm just saying, though, right? I'm just saying, right? I've been in that situation more than I can. That's why I didn't do 20 years in the military, because I just couldn't stand the system. Not because I couldn't just stand there and navigate it, right? I just couldn't stand being in that type of system where we are not celebrated for our intelligence. We're not celebrated for us being who we are. What we are is marginalized and we're held down at a lower standard and we're disrespected. And I'm just not going to tolerate that. I'm just being honest with you. Like, you can keep the rank. You can keep this little bit ass money that you pay me, because military don't pay a lot anyway. It's the benefits part of the military that's beneficial. But I'm like, I don't care, but you're not going to disrespect me. And I think we have to stand on that ground. Like, when is the disrespect going to get to a level where we say enough is enough?
Until it affects your livelihood for most.
Right. Yeah. So there's one thing that I wanted to even say about that. I think part of that will come, the disrespect will stop happening, is when we value ourselves a little bit more. And so I think part of it is, it's generational, unfortunately, being brought to this country as commodities, right? Like, people making money off our bodies, that some of it, I guess it's just within our DNA. Like, some of us still haven't gotten past the value of me is in my body and in my labor. And if we can get past that, kind of going back to the theme of like creativity and inspiration and just being outside of the box, and then commercializing or turning your imagination into money, then we'll start to see or stop tying so much worth and self-worth to like what we can produce with our hands and with our labor and with our bodies.
And that was done purposefully, though. You see,
I know.
That was done purposefully because most Americans think, and again, this is what we're taught generationally. Oh, hard work, just keep your head down, just work hard, just work hard, just work hard. What people don't seem to realize is, and you can look at any career, the careers that pay the premiums in the hundreds of thousands into the millions of dollars, you're not getting paid for your back, you're getting paid for your brain. See the difference? For the careers that you get paid for your back, yes, you might make a good living. Construction workers in general, we make a great living, but you cannot sustain that but so long, because it's extremely difficult physical labor.
Yeah,
it's very dangerous, right? And if you get hurt and that's your only trait, technical skills with your hands and not mental skills, then what do you do after that? See, in construction is a beautiful thing because, you know, because a lot of the guys that do construction, that the architects, the engineers and things of that nature, if you notice, a lot of them are like 60, 70, 80, making all this money because it's low lift for them. They ain't really doing shit. They draw in, they think solving, but because you using this, you can use this at 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. But at 60, 70 years, 80 years old, you want me to throw 20-pound blocks and shovel more? I can't compete with it. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the point that they got us stuck in. We have to get out of that slave mentality where our value is in our back, our value is in our hands, right? Our technical skills. No, you didn't like the tone?
No, the values in our back.
I didn't think that was crazy.
It wasn't, but I need the tone. It was the conviction.
Okay, bro. I can go with it. All right. I was pardoned though. You know, sometimes you're in the flow. You know what I'm saying? That YouTube, that one's for y'all. Yeah, they love when you do that one. But that's what I'm saying, Bianca. But I just want to bring this up to you, right? And that we have to talk about this because we didn't talk about this yet on this show. And since we're on this line, let's talk about the elephant that hasn't been talked about enough, right? If I get in trouble, and I have a felony conviction for any reason, 100 doors close. Can't be a police officer, can't be this, can't be that. A lot of the city jobs, these safe city jobs with the benefits, now closed to us. We've now had a president being convicted of what, 34 felonies now, and he can be the fucking president? Let me get this straight. I can't work for the city, a city with one felony. He has 34 felonies and he can be the most influential man and run the country. Are you fucking serious? Right? Because if I got a felony on every application, ever been convicted of a felony, you got to check that box. Because if you get the job, they can use that as grounds of termination. Oh, we found out you got a felony, you were fraudulent on your application, you lied, and they can fire you. So now we should be in an uproar. Okay, you want to be the president? No problem. Let's keep that line. Take all of that felony shit off for every application for everybody else now. For everybody else now. You see what I'm saying? Oh, and guess what? And if you're a felon and you live in like public housing, depending on what your felony was, New York City housing and stuff like that, you can't be on a lease.
And let's keep it all the way real. Why the fuck are they still asking our ethnicity on our application?
See?
What does that matter? What does that matter?
See?
I got all of my credentials here listed for you.
See what I'm saying? So what is more important? What are you saying to me without saying to me, right? That my race is more important than the knowledge or the ability to do the job that you're hiring me for. That Jarrett's appearance of him having braids is more important than his work ethic, him being on time and doing the overtime and his numbers being the top sales guy. His braids, his appearance is more important than the job you're hiring me to do that I'm excelling at. What message are you sending?
I hit him with the
black y'all, and I'm black y'all, and I'm
fuck down.
You know what I'm saying? So this is all I'm saying, Bianca. Like, I just got tired of it. I'm just being honest with you. Like, enough is enough. Like I said.
Yeah.
And me and Jarrett were in the place that you were in. We both were very successful, making hundreds of thousands. We did not have to do this. Let's be clear, right? I tell my kids all the time, like I didn't finish my computer degree because I was in the military. And when I got out, I didn't finish it at that time. I finished it later. But I told them, like, technically without a full college education, I was already successful. I bought a house, a homeowner, I had 3 businesses. I was already successful without college. You can look at people like Walt Disney and people that built billion-dollar companies without a college education. So that goes to show you that the institute of education that y'all have in place is not the end all be all. That doesn't mean that I do not have the ability to do the job. And my biggest pet peeve with this is you learn what they teach you in school. You get all these good grades. Let's just say by the Lord's grace, you actually get a job in the field that you fucking went to school for your degree, because 85% of the people end up working somewhere else, and you got a degree in basket weaving and you're a fucking medical. So like, well, how does that even, you know what I mean? But then you get to work, and you know the first thing they say, you forget everything they taught you in school. We don't even do shit that way. That's the book shit. We're gonna reteach you. Then it should never be no school. Let's get with the apprenticeship programs, right? Let's get with the apprenticeship programs. Let's get with the on-the-job training programs, and people that you want to potentially hire, put them through programs so they can learn in real time how the company operates in real time, and they can stop wasting our time, money, and resources learning things that are not applicable in real time.
That's real shit.
Well, you already know it's a system.
Right.
Well, they just put up, brother, that's my guy, brother, for real. Hold on. He said,
man.
It's all about control, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual.
It is.
Certifications and real life experiences pay more than certain degrees.
Right. And we're getting a lot of
young
comments.
Brother, he's 24.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of comments from Instagram too. Tanny's been chiming in. You know, she said you don't qualify for public services, right? If you have a felony, you understand what I'm saying. And she was saying the slave mentality is equal to fear. I keep saying that it's the fear, right? And apprenticeship and trades, right? Now that they have the stipend, which is a phenomenal thing, right? Now that they have the stipend, now you can go to a company and take the internship and still get paid something. See, before they didn't have to pay interns, right? So it definitely was, I understand that the fear, like, oh, I'm doing all this work, I'm not getting paid, how do I survive? But now it's mandatory that they stipend you and pay you something to be an intern. So now take the internship, learn from the ground level, learn the positives, the negatives, watch the mistakes on somebody else's dime. So by the time you climb the ladder, now you know enough about the business where you feel comfortable to step out on your own and say, now I know what to do.
Yep. And Matt, which is a good segue, sis. You know, I'm gonna ask you, because you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
We go through life, be life in, and entrepreneurship is the hardest thing in the world, and you don't know what it's like until the fire hits your ass. So I'm curious to know. I know the fire done hit you a bunch of motherfucking times. How do you overcome that? How do you overcome that as an entrepreneur? Like, what are some things that you do to keep you going and motivated?
Hold on, Bianca. I love you to death,
Pause.
Fire hit your ass?
Fire. I ain't say nothing crazy.
You said it twice though. You said the fire hit your ass. I love
fire.
I had to think of it. The fire hit your ass. That was crazy. I let you get away with it, but I had to pump that like fire hit your ass. That didn't come across, right? It didn't come across, right? You can answer, Bianca, but I'm just saying that the fire hitting your ass was kind of crazy. I ain't gonna hold you.
I got my face hurt. So the answer I had before all of that was yeah, of course. Especially during the pandemic, right? And so shout out to everybody who had a business before the pandemic and it shut down. Shout out to anyone who started the business during the pandemic and it's still going, or you started a business and it shut down, or you had a business, you made it through the pandemic. Like just starting and trying, I think is a commendable thing altogether, right? No matter how it ends up. As far as like how to get through it, a lot of faith. And not like, Christian faith, just faith in the idea that I knew that, God kind of, I guess it's a mix of all of it, right? God told me to bring to life, right? To bring to life in Baltimore. It was faith in knowing that I needed to do that I had to do it because it needed to help other people. But the other thing too is my parents, even as an adult, like they helped me with the business. So I wound up buying a commercial building in Baltimore, and they helped. And so it wasn't a lot, but it was a little bit. And so again, like I said, I don't come from money. So my dad retired as a janitor. My mom was a homemaker by the time my dad passed. And so the little bit that they had, they came together and helped me. And it was so funny because I remember having the conversation with my dad. So me and my dad were like best friends since like I was 16. Like I started to have like more adult conversations with him. Yeah. And so I remember when I had quit my job, that was the first test. And I was like, Dad, I'm quitting my job. He's like, why you want to quit that good job for? Like, you know, normally what old black men would tell you and old black women. And I was like, they're trying to drive me crazy. He was like, all right, I guess so, right? And then when I told him I wanted to start the business, at first he wasn't on board, or at least not 100%. And my mom was like, oh, that's our business. So she was like, she was talking to him, she was talking to me. She was like, all right, I'm gonna talk to him. And then I actually had to go to Philly to talk to him in person about it. And he asked me one question that I just wasn't expecting. He said to me, what if you fail? And I looked him dead in his eyes. I said, I haven't yet.
Ooh, that gets us back.
I know,
bet on yourself.
I know you respect your pops, and I love that, and I love that relationship. But you know, you ain't. Sometimes you just gotta, you know, let the emotion down and be like, "Yo, pops, what if I fail?" Like,
hell no, no.
Right.
Talking about pops, like,
right.
Ain't an option over here, like.
Right. And so I feel like, you know, there's times where, you know, I didn't always get the best outcome, but I've always learned. Right. And so my parents have seen me meet really hard challenges and, you know, come out pretty much on top. Right. So when I said that to him without blinking, without stuttering, without everything, he was like, all right, we gonna do it. And I was like, okay, cool. But like my dad was like the OG of OGs. Like he wasn't a tall man, but he was like 5'7". He was fiery, Aries. He showed up in the room. You knew he was there. He was from down south, so he had like a little southern drawl to him. Like people didn't play with him, right? And so I knew in stepping in that conversation, I had to be confident, but I also had to believe in myself to get him to be like, okay, let's figure out how we can help you. But like having support like that from my parents and friends and like just being in community with other Black entrepreneurs, especially during the pandemic, was extremely helpful. When I found out is that a lot of small business owners don't have a lot of friends who are small business owners, which is crazy to me. Because like that is, I don't know, it sounds real corny. It's like the wind beneath my wings, especially during the pandemic, because it was hard as hell. It's still hard now, but it was extremely hard then. We had to change the business, right? And so we started off as like an event space in Baltimore, and then we evolved into a tech company, which is a crazy story all in itself. But like we had to pivot because we had a foot traffic business with no foot traffic, right? Like, you know, how do you solve for that? And so I asked a really crazy question, which was, what if we start holding events in virtual reality? And so people started paying for it, like double the amount that they were paying for the physical space. So I was like, oh, it's a wrap, right?
Hold on.
Damn!
Yeah.
Hold on, motherfucker.
But we talk about that all the time. When you said something earlier, and now you just hit this, so now I'm gonna bring it back. Okay. You said you weren't an artist, but you are an artist. You see, because art evolves and it becomes what it's supposed to become as you practice your art form. Yes, you can start out and mean for a sculpture to be one way, but by the time inspiration, it can become something completely different. That's what businesses do. True businesses, you can start as one thing. Your passion can be one thing, but as the business grows, it'll develop a mind of its own, a spirit of its own, and it'll show you which way that you need to travel to keep the business going. You know, I just want to commend you that you were not afraid to transition, because change, you know, Black people don't want to change. Let me say it low. Black people don't want to change. You know, change for us is like change. That's like the devil. Like, you want me to do something different? You know what I mean? So, you know, I commend you on that. Because the change is very hard, especially when you feel like you're established. That's another key component that's keeping us stagnated in life, because people have worked 15 years, 20 years at a specific craft. They get comfortable. They have stability. They know it's not really working. They know it's not maintainable, but they are afraid to step out on that ledge. They are afraid to take that leap and change, because they're like, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna fail with you. You're gonna fail anyway. You're failing technically anyway. You just don't realize it in the moment. You know what I mean? Like
in the words of your boy, what do you got to lose?
What do you got to lose? I just saw a post out today. They said motherfuckers will invest 40 years to work for somebody else, but won't invest 3 years to build their own.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so even the pivot in the pandemic, right? So double the amount that we were making off those in-person for virtual reality events. But then we went from a local business to a global business, right? And so some of our projects have reached like, Jamaica, Bahamas, Ireland, Philippines and stuff like that. But then we went a step further. I'm like, all right, so if this helped us, then how can we help other businesses, artists, and other people trying to figure this out to like make it through the pandemic? So we start upskilling people. We start teaching them about virtual reality and augmented reality and artificial intelligence, because it's like it wasn't enough for us to make it through. Like I wanted to see other people in my community make it through the pandemic as well. So to this day, I think we've trained like about 600 people in these technologies. And so thank you. Yeah. And so the work, of course, it was a necessity for us to pivot, but like I just wanted to make sure other people were able to come along. And so our work has been like celebrated and supported by like American Express, Comcast, Fiverr, Meta, the company itself. So it's like,
but how did you do that though, sis? Because I gotta ask you, like when you say virtual, right? We talking pandemic. There's Zoom. There's only so many virtual platforms. What was the differentiating factor of what you were bringing to the market? Like, what was the thing?
So when you say Zoom, it's kind of like this, right? People are on video and you can see each other. Like we in virtual reality. So think about going into Fortnite and having a whole concert. Like we were doing stuff like that. So we weren't in Fortnite, but we were in platforms like it, right? So creating digital characters, so like you're not on camera and you can dress up how you want, give yourself whatever hair and give yourself tattoos and wear fly clothes or whatever, but you were in these experiences and events with other people from around the world. So like, very different than what was on Zoom, because everybody and their mama, was having Zoom workshops and seminars and for on 8 hours. Like, no, we were in there maybe like an hour or two, and people were like flipping, jumping around, jumping off of buildings, listening to stuff, going to art shows. Like we had one of our first events, we actually had a global art show where we had local women artists meet with art collectors around the world. And so people bought their paintings. And so they were able to meld their paintings to right. So it's just like trying. Thank you. Like just really trying really cool stuff. And like, all right, what would happen if we did this? And then I like to say I'm a scientist and architect, at heart as well as artist.
Why
right?
not?
So I'm like, let's test it out. Let's see if it's gonna work. And so when it worked and people were paying double the amount, I was like, man, we got to pause on these physical events. we got to do something else.
How did you get double? Because usually the pricing is the hardest thing as us as entrepreneurs. How to get that pricing right? Did somebody offer the double and you're like, oh shit, that's the market?
No, I just threw out a number because at the time nobody was doing what we were doing. And so that's the thing about being first, right? Like a lot of times,
set the bar.
Yeah, Black people wait till something get hot to want to jump on it. It's like, nah, if you read about it and you don't think nobody else is doing it, go out there and jump and like try it out. And then you'll find that once you're successful, other people are going to try to copy you. But like we literally were like the first ones in this space. And like, I want to say our first event was December 2021. So people were still trying to figure it out. And so
they're trying to copy us now, Bianca.
I know.
They're trying to copy us. We see other podcasts doing stuff that we do. Nigga, you ain't slick. We see you.
Nigga, you ain't have ocean blue shirts.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. You ain't had his color. You ain't had his color.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what would be a dope lesson that we could teach our kids?
What's that?
Let me tell you a dope. I just thought about this, right? Okay. If a child comes to you or anybody and say, hey man, I'd like to start my own business, let's do it as a family. And somebody says like, oh, how could that be a good idea? Something. You could just pick up a household product. Everybody got household products. You see this? This says Johnson & Johnson. That's owned by the Johnson family, right? Where do we just come from? Kmart, Walmart, that's owned by the Mart family, right? So you start looking at a lot of these other brands that we frequent and the name of the product or the company is that person's last name. So If they can do it, why we can't do it? See, that's the belief that we can be CEOs. We can be a company. We cannot be the worker. We can be the establishment itself. That's the message.
That's super tough. Going to market in a tech, going to market during the pandemic, and something like when. First of all, I already know because we come from the space, right? Consumer education is everything, right? Because they're going to be asking you the questions that your partners are going to be asking you, the person you're selling to. Okay, how do you differentiate? How can I create a different experience? How can I make it transformative? How can I keep my employees more engaged on this thing? And how can I eventually scale it to multiple departments, right? So for you to think that out and figure out the gamification of that, right? And actually do it. Like we call it interactive content. You kind of basically just did it from a live streaming thing, use your background from the tech and all that stuff and applied it. That's
but it's been see, but once again, I'm not saying it's an original thought. It's not if you think about technology itself, how technology moves is technology takes something that exists kind of already and makes it better. If you think about what people like, guys, boys, we're big gaming guys, right? What makes some of the most popular games so popular is the fact that they're interactive, they're open world games. You can do exactly what you're doing. It's just in a video game. Perfect example. Cuzzo is a basketball guy. He loves to play NBA 2K in the basketball games, right? Do you know how much money that fucking game generates? Because guess what? It's interactive, right? You can build your player, take your player to different gyms, different world. You can put on sneakers and clothing. You can tattoos. You can create your character, your avatar, right? And that avatar can be a completely different than what you are in real life. And then you can interact with. It's the same concept, just in a different form.
So, you see, now I've got to ask you now that you have the customization for your employees, right? I want to put on the Jordans. I want to put on a Sox hat. Have you had brand partnerships where you're allowed to do that?
We haven't done that work yet, but I know people keep asking for it. So
that's the first thing I'm like, what if I could be this?
Right. Shit. That's the next evolutionary step that would make sense monetarily and at a scaling purpose, right? Help it be more interactive. Can I get the Chanel bag in virtual reality? Because I never had a Chanel bag, but if I could get one you can get that now.
And then get that bag from Chanel, from American Express, all of them, whoever want to do that. You want to have that Johnson & Johnson product on the joint? Absolutely, for the premium. For the premium.
Look, I'm going to put that on my
Again, they say art imitates life and life imitates art. Let's take movies, right? Everybody watches movies. There's not one person on this earth that's never seen a movie, right?
Right.
What do movies do? Let's take Iron Man, right? Who sponsored Iron Man? Audi. That's why Iron Man always drives an Audi. He ain't driving a Mercedes-Benz. You understand? Like, whoever's sponsoring that movie is prominent, right? If you ever see a lot, and I did a lot of acting back in the days myself also, if you ever see movies and TV shows when a sponsor doesn't want to sponsor, they have black tape and they'll cover the computer logo. They'll cover a logo. If you had a logo on your shirt, they'll just cover it with black tape, because if you're not sponsoring us, you're not paying us, we're not giving you free advertisement. You see how that works? And they do that every single day. Every single day. TV programs, movies, everything. See what I'm saying? So again, like, we have the examples in front of us. We're just choosing not to follow them because we don't know what to look for. We see it, but we don't process the information as, oh, that's a marketing plan. That's a business move. You see?
Strategic like a mug.
Like a mug.
I'm gonna ask you though. Now I'm gonna ask you. Right. Now, is the product that you've created, is it able to be licensed to the Zooms, right? Because I would assume at that point they've heard, okay, she's using VR, AR, all these other things, right? B2C companies, Macy's, all these other they're gonna come to you because the shopping experience, everything going to change. The consumer journey is going to change online and offline. So have any of those big companies tried to license it from you? Is that a play that you're thinking would consider?
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm curious.
Yeah, because I'm working on something else.
Okay, but look, Bianca, here's another layup for you. Here's another layup for you, right? And this is what we like to do, because you can be successful and still get a great idea from somebody else not in the same space, right? Guess what? We've had 127 guests, whatever, on the show before you. We're in contact with people that actually own not only websites, but marketplaces of just Black-owned products.
Okay.
How about that? Now we put you together with one of them and say, guess what? Forget all the rest of the products. We're only going to license Black-owned products. So we're going to start licensing from Black-owned companies. You know what I'm saying? And get their stuff into our virtual reality. That helps their marketplace. It helps you. You see where we going with this?
Yeah, I see where you're going.
I'm just saying, like, there's so many possibilities of how you can help other businesses and how you can help other people integrate into what you're doing, right? And it helps the community, and by helping the community, we increase the bounce of a dollar, and we keep, you know, the flow of cash within our community before it leaves our community. You understand that? I'm just saying, like, these are ideas. This is the way. These are the type of roundtable conversations that we need to have. Like you said, when people come out of prison and they're incarcerated and they know how to build these companies, these are the roundtable discussions that they need to have with smaller companies where they're just spitballing. Let's just throw shit at the wall. Let's just have a brainstorming conversation, and you might get a gem from that, and that little gem might help you scale your company into what you never thought it could be, right? Just
but it's certain verticals that give you more margin. Like you in the concert space kills. You know, you in the concert space kills. Now if ticket sales decline, I'm looking at Live Nation. I'm looking at some of these people that have bad PR, bad press, and how can I make sure? Look at the Kendrick pop out, one of the biggest, most streamed things on Amazon. Now, what if I could have a totally different experience at home versus somebody who's actually there? Why do I have to watch the same thing? Why can't I get myself dressed and actually have seat B4?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, that's where you kill. So that is just like, so Cuzzo's right with that, but it's certain verticals that are going to be home runs and hit you with a lot of margin, right? So just, I know you already thinking, I can tell the look on your face. You're like,
yeah. No, again, like, you know, but listen, again, like, that's what we do on this show. You know, we it's important not only for us to have these conversations, but for our listeners and the people that watch this show, for them to hear these type of conversations. So even if you're not having the exact same conversation, it'll spark you to say, why am I not talking to Jimmy from down the block that owns the business when I got a business and we can do something together? Why am I not talking to, and at least let's start the conversation, because once the conversation starts, like art, you never know where it's gonna go, right? They have I love this thing. It's with tech. Right. It's in Europe, right? I can't remember the name of it, right? They have like a let's just call it like a function. It's like a weekend where like a bunch of inventors and tech people all come together for like a weekend, and like, let's just say like an event space, right? And their whole job is to spitball to each other. What are you doing? Did you think about this? This is what I'm doing. Did you think about that? And their whole purpose is to sit there and creatively trade information, creatively try to see if they can solve each other's problems and help each other out. We met a guy at an event. He actually is super famous. Oh man, he's developing technology. He's doing TED Talk and things of that nature. He has a technology for paraplegics, quadriplegics, the people that can't move, right? To make music with your mouth, with your tongue. You can put the instrument into your mouth. He has a new version. That the one we seen was bigger, was his first prototype. But the show that he put on, I'm talking like he moved his hands, and this guy created like an orchestra from just hand movements. And now, again, people with disability, veterans, and people like, you understand, now they're like, holy shit, I can now get my ideas out there, get my creativity out there. I can be productive. You see what I'm saying? But guess where he learned a lot of how to put that technology together from that type of an event where he got together, they brainstormed, somebody gave him a gym, they helped them out, they formed a team. Oh, you know what? Well, listen, I need a partner, right? You do this, I do that. Hey, would you like to partner together, right? Not work for me. Would you like to partner together, right? Let's get out of the working mentality, right? I don't want you to work for me. Let's partner together and let's bring this out together. Let's both get to the finish line. You understand? And let's work that out. And it helped him to develop this technology. And I'm telling you, like, I don't know if you've seen it, but it is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And this is, again, it all started with the conversation. It all started with somebody supporting his idea and saying, let me help you make it better. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? Them coming together with a partnership, getting the capital to get this thing off the ground. And like you said, you know, one of the biggest people that are trying to finance this technology is the military. The military seen that and was like, we want to give you a government contract immediately, because you know what they're thinking about. You know, they're going to take that technology, somebody turn that shit into a weapon or something. But it's just the way of thinking, because it's patented already now. They know they got to work with them to get it. but I'm just showing you, like, you can develop something that, again, can take a mind of its own and become something super, super beneficial to society in its whole, right? Help us develop, not hurt us, not hinder us, by just having these conversations with, keyword, like-minded individuals that have the same passion and are not hindered, and they understand that we are doing this for the betterment of society in general. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's why I kept smiling, Jerry. That's exactly what I'm doing. So I didn't talk about it just yet because it's baking. It's baking.
You gotta see the plays from 3 miles away, y'all.
You gotta see the play. You gotta see the play. You see what I'm saying? You gotta see the play. You see?
Now I gotta ask you. Let's to the shits. You know, some shit. We gotta get some shit that, you know, because we got some time going up.
Okay.
We asked our podcast, what is the mama I made it moment for you? What was the one moment in your career that you was like, holy shit, this was amazing. I couldn't believe this happened. I manifested it and it happened.
So there were 2 moments that popped up for me. One was I was at a speaking engagement and they got me a marching band. Like,
okay.
Man came in after me, super fire, right? So
they hit you with the Nick Cannon.
Yeah. And hit you with the Nick.
And it wasn't even an HBCU, so I was impressed. So that was the first thing. That was really cool. But the second thing, though, to be quite honest, was getting the commercial building. I think that already and Black people, a lot of people don't own homes. So being able to cross that off the list, you know, many, many years back, right? But getting to the point of actually buying a commercial building, like, it's not massive. Like, let me be clear. It ain't the big warehouse.
Okay. Okay.
Commercial building. But when you think about land ownership for Black people, and then land ownership for women, and then when you talk about land ownership for Black women, like, that was when I was just like, holy shit, like, shit, right, all of that, right? And so this came after I quit my job, I sold my house, I got out of my relationship, and I was trying to figure out what life was going to be. And kind of going back, people don't like change. I flipped over the whole table on my life, right? And
let's go.
Right. And then within a year, I bought a commercial building. So I used, you know, most of the money from the house. I worked a little bit more, saved up some more, but it wasn't easy. Like, there were challenges along the way. And like, even just kind of getting to like faith and spirituality, I was traveling in between like DC and Philly. And so the buildings in Baltimore, like I said. And so I was doing like a contract in DC. My parents live in Philly. So I was living in between both places, right? Because I still didn't have a house because I had sold it a whole year or earlier that year. And so I remember always driving up from DC. I would stop in Baltimore on the block where I was buying the building. And I did something crazy, but it made sense to me. And I don't know where I got this idea from, but this is for anybody who wants to do something big and just like something physical that you can put your hands on. So I would park my car on the street where the building was, and I walked around. So I would take my hand and I would rub the front door of the building.
Okay.
Around the whole building, like the whole block, go to the back door, rub my hand again, and then come back to the front door and like tell God, like, God, I'm real serious about this. Like, I want this building. Like, like, I know you want me to do this. I don't even know what the name of the business is going to be. I'm not even sure what we're supposed to do in here, but I know you want me to do this thing. And so I did that every time that I left DC to go back to Philly. So I must have did this 3 or 4 times, right? Over the course of 5 months. And so even when it got closer and closer to closing, I remember my agent called me. I'm driving on the way there. And she goes, Bianca, do you have your checkbook? And I was like, no, why? She was like, oh, they made a mistake with the calculation with the taxes, the title company, and that the seller wants her tax money back, property taxes. And I said, I already transferred y'all every last dime. My bank account is on 0.00. Ain't no more money to give y'all. Like, literally 5 digits was transferred out of my account to go get this building. And so I remember when I got there, I was like, I don't got no more money. I don't got my checkbook. So we're sitting there. It was like the stare down. I'm not even sure if you got the little clip from when Diddy was staring at that dude. It was like one of those moments like that.
I'm just being honest. If they looking at me and I ain't got no money, my face is like, what you want? What you want? I gave you everything. Yeah, so we're even if it's gonna bounce, nigga. There's nothing in there. You want a check? I give you a check.
Let me just tell you. Let me tell you something. So we're sitting there, we're all looking at each other. They tell us everybody at the table. And so I take my agent in the side room. I was like, look, I don't got no more money. I said, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there and make this plea. It was like only like $5K, right?
Right.
The whole deal was about to be blown up over $5K, right? The seller would have lost close to $300,000 had she not, if they didn't figure this out, right?
Right.
So I go back in the room and I say, look, I transferred every last penny that I have in my bank account. I've saved up money for over the last couple of months to get here. I said, I don't have anything else to give you. I said, but what I intend to do with this building is to be a community space to help other people, artists, community owners, like come together and like have a space for conversations and just forums and like doing things good, in the community. And so my little passionate plea, they figured it out. Like my agent took a hit, the title company took a hit, the seller took a hit. She was only willing to give up like $1,000. She wasn't willing to give up anything else. But like I was sitting there, it's like, I gave you everything I got. And so if y'all want to let this deal fall apart over $5K, I lose my earnest money, but then I keep the rest of my money, right? So I'm just sitting there, they made it work. But like that moment and even the moments leading up to that, that was the mama I made it moment, because I felt like I had accomplished something that I was not aware of anybody in my bloodline ever doing. Right.
Yeah. And let me piggyback my cousin right now. Let me take a page out of my cousin's book. He gonna like this, right? And let me tell y'all something, man. A lot of entrepreneurs that own restaurants and things of that nature, they've sold their house and they've sold everything to start their business, and they bet it all on themselves. So I'm gonna just move this back and I'm gonna turn around. You can see the shirt. Our motto is bet on yourself. We got so if you wanna sell something, when you go to these meetings, you still gotta have some clothes on. So you could go to More Than a Title and get you a good bet on yourself shirt. You see it right there on the lady. She got the crop top. You know what I'm saying? You can get you a good crop top.
I could cry.
You definitely need something to wear when you at these meetings and you're trying to close the deal. You know what I'm saying? So you can bet on yourself and let them know that you're betting on yourself in 5, 4, 3, and we back to the show.
Moments like this to make you proud.
That's a page on my cousin book right there.
The timing was impeccable.
Yes,
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you got me mad inspired with that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I can tell that's like probably like the first way you've told it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And I appreciate you.
You know what's dope about that too? So another thing what my cousin likes to do is he likes to talk things into fruition. He's big on that, right?
Okay.
And I'm big on believing. I'm more of a believe it's going to happen. See yourself, envision yourself, think about it, envision yourself there, make it happen. But you've done all of those things, right? You talked about it. You touched the building. You put that energy out there. This is what I want. And remember, we talked about energy, right? Yeah. Energy is only transferred. It can't be destroyed. It can only be transferred, right? So what you did was you transferred that energy into the building. You transferred that energy into the community and you made it happen. And said, this is what I want and this is what I want to do. So I just want to commend you on that, Queen, because that was, I don't care what nobody says. That's a huge move on your behalf. Thanks. And I commend you on being confident enough to say, I'm going to take this. I'm going to sell my home. Look, think about what you just said. Most people are not homeowners. Then you get a Black woman homeowner. You understand the numbers go lower, and you're like, I'm gonna sell everything, and I'm gonna make this thing happen.
In the midst of lifing.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? So I commend you for that, and we have to celebrate. Before you can get the big victory, you have to celebrate the small victory. So we got to give you a clap for that. Congratulations. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
light it, do something, take a shot, do something.
Yeah, man, you gotta take a shot on it. And because if you don't believe in yourself, then how can anybody else believe in you? You know what I'm saying? The reason, one of the reasons that this podcast has been so successful is because when we walk into rooms, we are this. I don't care if you're a millionaire, I don't care if you're a bill. We walked into an event yesterday, talking about stuffy. What the fuck is that? Give me a hug, nigga. I'm a hugger. Let me know. We the
Marlon Wayans. Come here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, come on, man. We walked in like we're brothers. We walked in with the Tuesday. Like, what's going on in here? We had a funeral, we had an event, and we turned the whole event upside down. And by the end of the event, everybody laughing, joking, and then because again, like it's that positive energy, it's that reinforcement. Like, what are we doing here? We didn't come here to stand and be stush. We didn't come here to stand in the corner and act like we're more important than anybody else. We came here to network. We came here to support somebody, and we came here to show people that we're willing to work together. Until we start bringing that kind of energy right into events and putting that kind of energy out into the world, it's not going to come back to you. You're not going to attract people that want to work with you and people that have the same mentality if you're putting out, I'm scared and I don't know, and you know what I mean. And lastly, if you want it all, you got to bet it all. If you want it all, you got to be willing to bet it all. Message. Understand, any gambler will tell you that you bet $1, you win $1. We told this story a couple weeks ago about the Super Bowl. We know a lot of guys that won $1 million. They, guys were putting up I won $1 million on the Chiefs, and he went crazy. I said, but he bet 900,000. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, he went big, yeah. So he won 1.5 or something crazy because he was willing to bet 800,000-900,000. So again, if you bet small, you win small. You bet big, then you're able to win big. You understand? So congratulations to you, Queen, for betting big on yourself. And winning big and paving the road and being the first of your kind to do such. Now you can inspire future generations to look at you and get the inspiration, because for our culture, right, we have to hear it, we have to see it to believe it. Now they can look at you and say, Bianca did it, now I could do it.
But let's give them the context too, right?
Yeah.
Lifing is the hardest part. Being an entrepreneur is dealing problems while life is lifing, and being able to simultaneously deal with all that shit, the doubt in your head, the anxiety, the not knowing when a check gonna come, not knowing this, not knowing that, and are you still gonna walk through the door and wake up with that same energy? That is the gift.
Let me just tell you that, plus I lost my father in the middle of the pandemic. So like 3 months in, he passed, right? He went in because he fell. He had like a hairline fracture in his hip. His heart stopped in the hospital, and they was like, "Oh, it's COVID," right? Crazy. I don't believe the story, but that's
my hairline fracture.
That's crazy.
Right, that's crazy. But like going back to what I said before, this man was my best friend. So I started a new business. We're in the middle of a pandemic. My best friend dies. I can't talk to him no more. And so I was man down for like a month. And imagine being a business owner in the middle of a pandemic and like you're going through so much grief, you can't work, right? So kind of like you said, life is lifing, but that's extreme. And so, I had that going on, then no foot traffic for the foot traffic business, trying to figure out how to keep the doors open, how to pay the mortgage and all that other stuff. So it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for somebody who's going to easily just get up and just walk away. Like, this isn't I'm a quit tomorrow type of situation. Like, if you're going to quit your job, you're going to sell your house, you're going to sell your boat, your business, your car, whatever it is to like get this thing off the ground, you got to be committed to this thing. And
talking, preaching.
You got to be committed to it, because like you said, if you're not willing to bet on yourself, then why would you expect anyone else to?
Yeah. I got a question for you though. I got a question for you, Queen. Because this is very important also, and we cannot have this type of conversation and leave this out.
Yeah.
You now being a entrepreneur, an educated woman and things of that nature. Now you're working for yourself. You're building a business. What does that look like? How did that affect you now, relationship wise, right? You said you didn't have any children, and you said that you just lost your father. So your family dynamic is changing, right? But now it's very important because we all need some type of a support system. Nobody is successful on their own, right? How did this success now affect you in your personal life when trying to find somebody to spend your time with and give your energy to? Did it make it more difficult? Did you find a person that was on the same page with you? What did that look like for you?
It was interesting. So I'm the oldest of 5. So I never felt alone. So I have like all my siblings and my mom, right? So that was cool. But the funny thing is, I've never even thought about this until you just asked this question. Every person that I've dated, for the most part, since I became an entrepreneur, has been an entrepreneur.
You can't.
Where's the message, Cuzzo?
I was agreeing so much, I forgot I had the message in my head.
Message.
Right, there you go.
Okay. You think that's by accident? You think that's by accident?
No, I don't think so. I think subconsciously there's something that I've always wanted. Like once I became an entrepreneur and like really understood what it took, it would only take another entrepreneur to understand
what you go through.
Right. Yeah, because like I remember, way before I became an entrepreneur, I was dating a guy who had a small business and I just couldn't understand why he spent so much time at his business. Like, cause I clocked in, clocked out, right? Yeah. I'm like, I'm ready to talk on the phone. He's like, yo, I gotta do this, I gotta write that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's 5 o'clock, Yeah. But like becoming a business owner and realizing that there's really no days off. And so like I've had to put boundaries in place for myself. And one thing that I started this summer was just taking every Friday off, right? So Friday is I go get nails, I go out to eat, I go walk,
Pamper day, self-care, self-love.
All of that, right? And so, but the really interesting thing though is along the way, I've dated different types of entrepreneurs. And y'all probably will find this interesting. You got some who are real serious, you got some who ain't. You got some people who are playing entrepreneur and ain't really about that life. You have some people who want to build their thing and they want to use your energy and your resources to build their thing. But when you ask them to help you build your thing, they're like,
Talk about it.
Right. So, like, there's somebody who just want to be along for the ride. Like they in all the photos and the videos and they get access to your doors because they with you. Like, so there's a lot that you gotta be discerning with. And so the guy that I'm dating now is like a sweetheart. We have very similar values. And so when we talk and have conversations, nothing is weird or out of place because we think very similarly. And so one of the first things, like we were just having a business meeting first before anything romantic happened. And I remember in the conversation, he said to me, he's like, oh, do you do X and Y type of work? And I was like, yeah, why? He's like, oh, I'm working on something and I want to include you. I was like, oh, that's sexy.
Hey, yeah, so no, wait, hold on. She said,
I like it.
Said, in that moment,
I knew.
in that meeting, she was like,
you have my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
You know what I'm talking about? Oh, what you said, baby?
Right.
Your name is Mark, huh? Yeah, I like Mark.
Good nigga, your name Mark?
Your name Mark? Right.
That's exactly how it went, because I think a lot of times when you meet people out, you try to keep it real professional, right? But then someone says something that you're not expecting, you're just like, wait, like turn the dial on this, like, okay. And I remember I had sent him a text message like, they don't make them like you no more. And so I kept like sending him, I guess, like little flirty messages. And so one day he just had to ask me, he's like, are you flirting with me? And I was like, yeah, why? Is that a problem?
Oh, come on, man. You got to read the room.
I never liked you anyway, pretty motherfucker.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd have sent that to him. Like, read the room. What's his name?
That's when you got to hit him with that.
What's his name? What's his name?
You said, what's his name?
Yeah, it was Mark. I'm falling out.
Yeah, this is Mark.
It's not Mark, and I'm not telling y'all his name.
Right.
Okay. I'm just saying, whoever you are, Mark, you understand I'm saying that your name is not Mark.
Right.
Me and my cousin Jarrett got a message for you, Mark. Listen, be clear.
Reverse it. Don't be pussy whip. Whip that pussy. Look. Bang, 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 bang.
You know what I'm saying, Mark? Mark, read the room, baby. She's sending you the emoji. She's sending you the sexy talk, Mark. Everything doesn't need to be spelled out, my brother. Read the room.
I like, but he got him. He got him.
I'm just saying, Mark,
outcomes.
that your name ain't Mark. But here, let me just flip this real quick. For any women entrepreneurs looking for a sexy house home guy, listen, you can work, and because if you're working and you ain't got no days off, you need somebody to cook, you need somebody to clean. I look sexy in the apron.
Connected a lot of dots. I could
wash the tails real good. I bake. I sew. You know what I'm saying? I wash your hair. We can share hair care products. You feel me? I braid.
Listen,
it's not like us out there. We ready to be taken care of.
Oh my God.
You can wear the.
Nah, you lost me with the braiding, God. Everything else is I'm braiding.
Absolutely. You gotta remember, we all had braids. Like, you gotta remember, my hair used to be super long. Remember, I was a single father. I raised CJ from like I'm like 1 year old. You know, remember, CJ hair was super long, Shane's hair super long. Who gonna do my son's hair? We all had hair. I had to learn how to braid.
Nah, you wild. I'll do a shape up. I'll bring you
but they wasn't getting haircuts. They had braids like you. How much?
I know a shorties from somewhere from Double Dutch. I know somebody that can braid his hair. I mean, you doing it like you in the yard is nuts.
I'm not braiding niggas' hairs. I'm braiding my son's hairs. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't like the tone.
A part to the left, a part to the right, over, under, over. Pull it back, a corn roll.
Even that, I'm not gonna get you another one for that. The under, over the pull. I hate it all. But I'm at you. You know, cause I know we come all the time. Since that's what I. We gotta talk about the Pulitzer.
Okay.
We gotta ask you about that. And I also saw
you
got 40K on LinkedIn. How has social media changed your life? And also just walk us through the story of the Pulitzer. Like, I got
so when I knew I wanted to build a business, I started doing it while I was working. So I figured out like how LinkedIn worked. And so I was using a whole bunch of tools to help me like post stuff and like meet new people, like send people messages and then like add people on LinkedIn, right? So I knew I would need certain types of people for the types of businesses that I knew I wanted to start up and that I was already running. So that was the first thing. But the Pulitzer, though, was interesting because, and this is going back to all my 9-to-5 people. One day I was leaving work and I saw these guys playing Fruit Ninja in VR, right? And so you remember the Fruit Ninja game that you had on?
You swipe it like this. That's one of my favorites. I love the Fruit Ninja.
Right. So I'm leaving work.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bianca. Sorry. Was nuts.
That was crazy.
Love the Fruit Ninja. Man. I saw your eyes through the glasses. I didn't like it.
I don't know, man. That's being the now I'm looking at you like,
what's wrong with this guy? Am I getting there?
Ninja God, come on, bro.
All right, okay. I'm sorry,
Mr.
It's the tone. They don't like the tone. It's the tone.
It's cool. So I always tell people the Pulitzer started with me slicing fruit. So I'm leaving work one day. I walk over. It's like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we're doing research. We're figuring out like how to use Fruit Ninja in VR. They're like, hey, do you want to play? So I'm like, yeah. So I put on a headset. And this was the time when the headsets were actually connected to the computer. So this was back in 2016, right? And so I'm in there sweating. I'm on the floor. I'm trying to slice fruit. Like it's getting real heated, right? So maybe about 5 or 10 minutes inside the headset, I take it off and I ask them 1,000,001 questions because I was like, this is really cool. Like, what do you want to do with this? What do you hope to do with this? Because I was inside of a news organization, right? So I'm like, virtual reality news, like, how does that even go together? And so I must have impressed them. So a week later, my boss goes, you've been reassigned. So I was a tech project manager at the time. And I was like, assigned where? She was like, the emerging tech team. I said, you mean a Fruit Ninja team? And so we busted, right? And so, and being assigned as a project manager for that team, we were like a R&D team, like our research and development. So they let us run wild. So I managed a team of game developers. So kind of going back to video games, and we built different things. And so we built 3 different products. By the time we built the 3rd product, that was a product that won a Pulitzer. We built it not even like to win a Pulitzer. We built it to influence Congress. So at the time, they were trying to figure out if they were going to fund the border wall the first time. And so we wanted to tell the story of like the pros and the cons of this. Like, because a lot of what was on the news was quote unquote illegal immigrants jumping over a fence, but there are way more stories to like take in consideration. Right. You have like border control, drugs, eminent domain. So people like the government snatching your property for government purposes. Right. You have endangered species that went back and forth between the border. So if you put up a wall, they wouldn't be able to get back to like their families or their colonies or whatever. You have rape, unfortunately. So one thing that most people don't know is even when some of the migrants come over, like the young girls and the moms, some of them are sexually assaulted by the people bringing them over, which is crazy in itself, right? So all of these different stories are stories that we felt like needed to know. And so what we wound up doing was creating something that looked like a video game and that it modeled the terrain of like the border, right? So we had somebody in a helicopter use a special camera, like a LiDAR camera, to shoot the terrain. So we took that footage and actually created the environment.
You mapped it, right?
Yeah, to
digital
scale.
mapping. Digital mapping. Yeah.
Yeah, so like super high tech stuff, especially back in 2016. So we did that. We created the environment, the video game itself, and then put in all the content from the journalists. So the videos, the photos, the interviews, the stories, and then we pull it all together. So yeah, so at that time, that was like, I guess, revolutionary.
Fire.
Yeah, that's like 8 years ago, right? Yeah. And so, but it goes back to, kind of like my ethos and why I do the work that I do. That whole project was around lifting up the voices of the unheard, right? And like, giving it a different narrative. And so that's why I use tech in the way that I do. It's like, how do we use it to better society and better understanding and like humanity, kind of like to the point that you were making.
Yeah.
So that's how I got there, right? And so it's crazy because it feels like sometimes life is a whole bunch of unrelated experiences, but all of them are related. Like
there you go.
Me getting my first computer at 10, to learning how to program, to working for the school district and seeing inequities in technology, to working for different corporations and experiencing the isms within tech, and then finally having this opportunity to work on this really transformative project that, still people stop me in the street today. It was like, hey, I'll introduce myself, and sometimes I'll mention the Pulitzer, or I'll mention the project. There's like, oh, I read about you, or I seen you somewhere. And I'm like, it's always really cool, but I don't want the experience to stop there. I want to keep doing more work. And so I am. And so that's why it's like, it's more things are coming, but it's just like,
that was dope. Yeah, that's dope.
Thank you.
And you deserve an award of that magnitude for doing something.
She's our friend, not yours. You can't get on.
How about that? You know what I'm saying? She our friend, not yours. You know what I'm saying? And I'm surprised because normally when we have super dope interviews like this, the other podcasts, they like to interrupt us and call us during the podcast. Like, how'd you get that? You gotta get Bianca on your own. Not plugging you in. Don't like this. We gotta. Can she come on your show next?
Let's put Nebo. The team, right? So if anybody who wants to build up their platform and want to be on more shows like More Than the Title, you got to join the platform. It connects you with a lot of dope content creators. This is our first time linking up, y'all. And y'all see 2 hours right now of pure heat. And I'm just like excited to even, we're honored to have you on. This shit was really dope.
No, I'm thankful too. And I would say for anyone looking for a guest, not just me, but anybody, definitely check out Expert Bookings online. I think that's how we got here.
Yeah.
Crystal's one of my really good friends. And
shout out to Crystal.
Black owned, Black woman, Black business. Support it.
You see that? We work for women's. And we like it. We like it. We not intimidated. We like, go ahead and make that money. Go ahead and make that. Just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. You said go cook that. I will go cook that right now.
Oh my God.
You make that bed. That bed is made. Military corners.
Okay. All right.
But one thing that we gotta you touched on something, we can't let you leave without this. We want you to let the people know where they can find you, because I can almost guarantee you for certain people are gonna want to reach out to you. They're gonna want to connect with you, maybe pick your brain, get some information, maybe link up with you and do some partnerships. Please let the people know where they can find you.
All right. So if you want a super professional tip, you can hit me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Bianca.
There you go. Yeah.
Bianca J. Jackson. If you're one of those people that likes hanging out on Instagram, then it's the same name, Bianca J. Jackson, there too.
I don't think we linked though. I got to make sure I send you a friend request. Please approve me.
I will.
I won't spam you. You know what I'm saying? And listen, everybody, look. She started the show by saying something, and we can't let her leave the show without understanding this, right? She started the show by saying she's just an around the way girl. She's an entrepreneur. She's helping to move the society forward. She's very well educated. And I'm telling you right now, like, you better stop chasing them club chicks. You better. Go get you an around the way girl. Stop playing. Stop playing.
Why they playing?
I love it. I love this, and I love this interview. I'm so appreciative.
Gotta give you a real note. Now that you're part of the More Than Entitled family, anybody that we've interviewed, anybody that you see in future interviews, you have complete access to us. Any plugs or any connections we can make, we don't gatekeep. We don't do none of that. We want to see each other win, and we're gonna make sure we do it. No payola, no nothing. Just holler at us. Let's keep building, Queen.
Do we have Bianca's personal number?
No, we don't. If you can put in the private chat,
you can put in the private chat, Bianca. What we do with all our guests is we create a group chat with us and the guests. That way, again, like we're straight up and down. There's no political red tape. You're not talking to our assistants. If it's something that you need from us, an idea or anything, you just hit us directly. And we'll respond directly. Also, if you're ever in New York, and this is I'm telling you right now, if you think this was crazy, you see us in New York, it gets great. If you're ever in New York and you're having an event and you want us to come support or anything like that, or you just want to go and hang out and just talk shop, whatever, you just let us know, and we be glad to pull up, man, because our in-persons are a lot better. The energy's crazy.
I can only imagine.
I'm telling you, your cheekbones gonna be hurting. I'm telling you right, the cheekbones gonna be crazy.
Crazy.
What's up, godson? What's going on?
People, what the grind is, y'all. We did 2-hour podcast with my boy in the room. And what you got to say, Pop? What you gonna say to the people?
Thank you for joining More Than a Title.
Yeah,
man. What we got coming up next week?
With that said, you said something funny too. You mentioned a KRS-One quote. We got MC Shan pulling up Thursday.
Yes. Got MC Shan coming Thursday.
MC Shan pulling up Thursday. We wanted to get KRS-One and MC Shan together. We couldn't make it, but we're going to try to do for a future one. So the legends coming through. Next week, we're doing a fan appreciation. We will also be at the Life Camp Par for Peace. We'll be out there with Allen Houston, John Starks, a lot of former Knicks. We out there, we covering it live. Only us covering it. Shout to Dave.
You're not gonna see me with no 9-iron, no putter. I'm telling you, you might see me with the ankles out, with the Argyle pants on. I rock those, but Jarrett's the one that's gonna be on the golf course.
Best deals happen on the golf course, y'all.
I'm just saying, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. I'm not gonna make a fool out of myself out there. I'm telling you ahead of time, man. So listen, we appreciate y'all once again, man. Understand that this show is only possible. It's only possible due to the support of our culture, of our fans, of our guests that allow us to tell their stories. They understand that it's not clickbait. Cultivate their stories, get their message out there, and help them grow. We appreciate y'all. Like my cousin said, we are growing and glowing every week. You understand what I'm saying? We're on track to hit 1 million this year on YouTube, and it's all thanks to you guys. We love you guys, man, and we're gonna be back on Thursday, man. We got a lot of big episodes coming up for y'all, man. And who but us, man? More Than the Title. Bet on yourself. You know what it is. We see y'all later, man. I love this interview, man. We out of here.
What you know about me?